Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. Live from Austin, Texas, broadcasting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
Here we are, still fresh off of Christmas. Owen Schroyer filling in for Alex Jones here today. And for whatever reason, Christmas seems to really trigger liberals. I don't understand it, why it's so triggering, but that's the case. They hate the fact that Trump says Merry Christmas. They want to bury Merry Christmas and just say Happy Holidays. But now the Southern Poverty Law Center has labeled Christmas extremism. Here's a report from John Bound.
Merry extremism, everyone. The Southern Poverty Law Center has designated anyone hashtagging Merry Christmas, Christmas Eve, Christmas, or Jesus a far right-wing extremist. Breitbart writes, according to the SPLC, its hate tracker tracks accounts that represent a range of extremists, from conspiratorial fringes of mainstream conservatism to outright white supremacists. The hate tracker notes that hashtag Christmas is the second highest trending hashtag it tracked on Christmas Eve, with @White and @POTUS being among the 4 top Twitter handles mentioned with the hashtag. For hashtag Merry Christmas, the U.S. Marine Corps band at Marine Band was one of the top mentioned, according to the hate tracker on Christmas Eve. One of the SPLC's top image associated with hashtag Merry Christmas is a photoshopped picture of Marines hoisting a Christmas tree instead of a flag, as depicted in the famous Iwo Jima picture. You may remember recently in 2017, the SPLC designated a Christian ministry group as a hate group. PJ Media reported the SPLC listed DJKM as a hate group, while GuideStar also categorized it in those terms, and Amazon kept the ministry off of its charity donation program, Amazon Smile. Jerome Corsi reported back in August of 2017, the SPLC, a 501c3 tax-exempt foundation headquartered in Montgomery, Alabama, is quick to demonize law enforcement conflicts with minorities that are typically characterized as oppressive by the hardcore left that has taken control of the Democratic Party. Apple has joined internet content giants Google and Facebook, as well as the mainstream media, embracing the Southern Poverty Law Center efforts to censor out hate speech, without realizing the Soros-funded organization has a hard left goal of targeting conservatives and libertarians as extremists. Meanwhile, the George Soros-funded nonprofit pays lucrative 6-figure salaries to its top directors and key employees, while spending little on legal services despite its stated intent of fighting hate and bigotry, using litigation, education, and other forms of advocacy. The SPLC was founded by lawyers Morris D. and Joseph Levin Jr. D's first law partner, Millard Fulner, said of D's direct marketing ventures in the 1960s that Morris and I, from the first days of our partnership, shared the overriding purpose of making a pile of money. We were not particular about how we did it. We just wanted to be independently rich. During the 8 years we worked together, we never wavered in that resolve. Also back in August of 2017, records showed that millions of dollars to offshore entities were a huge part of the SPLC's business dealings. The SPLC should be held accountable for treason and subversive tactics, endangering not only just our national security, but Western civilization itself. Merry Christmas, SPLC. May you one day take a hard look in the mirror and realize the real extremist is you. John Bound reporting for Infowars.com.
And this is what the radical left has done to conservatives, where if you're a conservative or you support Trump or you love America, well, you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a white nationalist. Even if you're black, even if you're Hispanic, you're still a white nationalist. So you can tear down a Kate Steinle memorial and it's okay because you've been dehumanized by the radical left. When we come back, Trump's approval ratings are up. We'll tell you why. Welcome into the Alex Jones Show. Filling in for Alex today, I am Owen Schroyer. It is Thursday, December 28th, 2017. as we are winding down 2017, getting ready for 2018. President Trump's approval rating has hit a boost as we are closing out the new year. We'll get more into that. But there was a story today in the Pew Research Center, 17 striking findings from 2017. Now, I found the striking findings that they reported on to be rather mundane. So what I want to do today, I'm going to take a lot of phone calls in the second and third hours of today's show to hear from the audience. And I want to know, what did you think were the most, let's go with their phrase, striking findings of 2017? Because to me, when I think about striking findings, I'm thinking about the JFK assassination and how the FBI and the government was covering up the truth about that, and they lied about it, and they admitted that they had people in the media to lie about it. To me, that's a striking finding. So striking, I can't believe that only lasted, a couple weeks in the news cycle. You would think the people that were alive during the JFK assassination would be more upset that they were lied to for all these years, but in fact, that group of people seem to care even the least. So I want to hear from the audience. What were the most striking things to you in 2017? How about the fact we found out that Hillary Clinton rigged the primary and cheated Bernie out, and that he laid down and didn't care? A total fraud, a total wuss, a total wimp. We'll actually be hearing from Bernie Sanders later today. So as we wind down 2017, we'll take some of your calls in the second and third hour. What were the most striking findings to you? Maybe it's Peter Strzok in the FBI clearing Hillary Clinton and then saying he needs to have an insurance policy in case Trump would win. What does he mean by that? But latest poll indicates President Trump's rating is up to a 46% approval rating with a 53% disapprove rating. And this actually matches where President Hussein Hezbollah was at the same time in his first year. So President Hussein Hezbollah, also known as Obama, President Hezbollah saw a 46% approval rating and a 53% disapproval rating after his first year. Now, what is the twist? Well, see, there is a twist. Here's the twist right here. Trump media 3 times more negative than for Obama, just 5% positive. So think about this. Obama was a media darling. Obama was a total fraud, and a lot of people bought into Obama. A lot of those people realize he's a total fraud now and now are Trump supporters. But regardless, think about this. Where President Trump stands today, as far as this Rasmussen approval rating, is exactly where President Obama stood after his first year. But President Trump did it, if you want a visual, President Trump did it with shackles on. President Trump did it handcuffed. President Trump did it with a ball and chain attached to each leg. President Trump did it while the media was stabbing him in the back the entire way. So the fact that President Trump matches President Obama's approval rating after 1 year shows you how amazing he actually is. It's like if President Trump and President Hezbollah had to run a 40-yard dash, and they both ran the 40-yard dash in the same time, but President Trump had to do it with a 100-pound flak jacket on, and he still tied Obama. And he's almost double his age. So this is a huge accomplishment for President Trump, considering how much the media has lied about him, his family, tried to character assassinate him, this whole fake Mueller investigation with the fake Russian collusion narrative based on a fake dossier. And yet here President Trump stands just as popular as President Hezbollah after his first year in office, with nothing but hate, vitriol, and lies coming from the mainstream media. So cheers to President Trump for accomplishing that. That is truly incredible. Meanwhile, President Hezbollah Well, he just continues to try to figure out how he can undermine President Trump and confuse and deceive the American Republic. So President Trump, though, also tweeted out that he has inside polls that indicate that his approval rating is actually higher. And think about where that approval rating would be if the television media actually gave fair coverage to President Trump. I'm not saying they have to worship President Trump. I'm not saying they have to like President Trump. I'm just saying giving him fair coverage. It's like yesterday on the Drudge Report. The Drudge Report has a poll, and the poll, the winning vote was, the biggest story of 2017 was Trump's first year in office. Well, that's kind of a misnomer to me. They didn't report on Trump's first year in office. People don't even know what Trump accomplished in his first year in office. If you watched CNN or MSNBC, you think the only thing President Trump accomplished was having Manafort and Flynn charged with something and colluding with Russia and being a bigot. You wouldn't know about the tax cuts. You wouldn't know about the GDP. Look at this. They have it in a pie graph here. Look at that. I mean, this is ridiculous. Coverage of Trump's first 60 days delivered greater share of negative assessments than coverage of previous presidents. So a negative assessment of Clinton, President Bill Clinton, 28%. President George Bush, 28%. President Hussein Hezbollah, 20%. President Trump, 62%. So how about that? President Trump gets almost as much negative assessment on media than the prior three presidents combined, and yet here he stands today like a rock with an approval rating as good as Obama's after 1 year in office. And again, these ratings are skewed to me because some of the people that they are looking to vote on this don't even know what Trump has actually done. They don't know the truth about President Trump. They don't know all of Trump's accomplishments. And so they're voting based on false information. So that's just amazing that President Trump has been able to do that. He just continues to accomplish things that seem impossible. Now, an interesting ripple in that, there's actually a couple here we're going to get to. Trump sends fewer Mexicans home despite deportation talk. So actually, and I'm wondering where the liberals are going to be on this because, you know, Trump hates Mexicans. That's what they say. You know, Trump wants to send all the Mexicans back to Mexico. That's what the Democrat ads would run on TV saying if you're a Mexican, he wants to deport you. And then sadly, people who are actually from Mexico believe that, and then they get scared even though it's fake news. So I'm just going to wait, and I'll probably wait till I'm dead. I'm just going to wait until the liberal media excoriates President Obama for deporting more Mexicans than President Trump. I mean, after all, if President Trump's rhetoric against Mexicans is so offensive, President Hezbollah's deportation of them you would think would be tenfold as offensive. But no, I'll be waiting until I die for the liberal media to actually cover any subject fair. Meanwhile, number of officers killed in the line of duty hit second lowest in more than 50 years. Oh, is that because we have a president that doesn't go on national platforms and diss the police and rile up more hatred towards police? I don't know. That could be the case, but just another stat. And it's good news, even for the people out there that hate police. I mean, you would think that you'd want less people getting shot and killed and hate and anger, but maybe that's what fills your heart, so that story might actually upset you. On the other side, we're going to hear from David Knight. This is a classic. It's a wonderful lie about big banks and the United States, and it's got a little Christmas touch to it, just to trigger the liberals.
Over the last 100 years, the Federal Reserve has created bubbles and burst them, enslaved us with debt, and destroyed our purchasing power through inflation. Yes, it's been a wonderful lie for the bankers. There are striking parallels in Frank Capra's It's a Wonderful Life to the lies and tricks that real bankers used to create the Federal Reserve. Human nature doesn't change, and the greedy elite of 1913 and 2013 look and act a lot like Potter, the banker in the movie. And many Americans are left like George Bailey, staring into the abyss as their dreams collapse and they face financial ruin. Do we live in a country that looks a lot more like Pottersville than Bedford Falls? What does Frank Capra's film show us about how we got here and how we can get out? When the Federal Reserve was created 2 days before Christmas 100 years ago, it was a culmination of 6 years of fraud, fear, and manipulation.
I've never really seen one, but that's got all the earmarks of being a run.
The Panic of 1907 was used to shape public support for the Fed. The panic was triggered by rumors that 2 major banks were about to become insolvent, just as we see in the movie.
George, there is a rumor around town that you've closed your doors. Is that true? I am going all out to help in this crisis. I have just guaranteed the bank sufficient funds to meet their needs. They will close up for a week and then reopen.
Just took over the bank.
I may lose a fortune, but I am willing to guarantee your people too. Just tell them to bring their shares over here, and I will pay 50 cents on the dollar.
Oh, you never miss a trick, do you, Potter?
Unfortunately, J.P. Morgan got away with the deception and was able to shut down competitors and snapped up assets at fire sale prices.
Take during the Depression, for instance. You and I were the only ones that kept our heads. You saved the building and loan. I saved all the rest.
Yes, well, most people say you stole all the rest.
The envious ones say that, George. The suckers.
Charles Lindbergh Sr. warned people at the time of the creation of the Federal Reserve that it would not stop boom and bust cycles, but would actually create them in order to benefit its private owners. Here's what he said. To cause high prices, all the Federal Reserve Board will do will be to lower the rediscount rate, producing an expansion of credit and a rising stock market. Then, when businessmen are adjusted to these conditions, it can check prosperity in mid-career by arbitrarily raising the rate of interest. It can cause a pendulum of a rising and falling market to swing gently back and forth, or cause violent fluctuations by a greater rate variation. And in either case, it will possess inside information as to the financial conditions and advanced knowledge of the coming change, either up or down. This is the strangest, most dangerous advantage ever placed in the hands of a special privileged class by any government that ever existed. The system is private, conducted for the sole purpose of obtaining the greatest possible profits from the use of other people's money. They know in advance when to create panics to their advantage, and they know when to stop panic. Inflation and deflation work equally well for them when they control the finance. As we see in the movie, not all lending institutions have the same motivations.
Now, you take this loan here to Ernie Bishop. You know, that fellow that sits around all day on his brains in his taxi, you know. I happen to know the bank turned down this loan, but he comes here, and we're building him a house worth $5,000. Why?
Well, I handled that, Mr. Potter. You have all the papers there, his salary, insurance. I can personally vouch for his character.
Friend of yours?
Yes, sir.
You see, if you shoot pool with some employee here, you can come and borrow money. What does that get us? A discontented, lazy rabble instead of a thrifty working class.
As a former FDIC chair said, all too often the large banks use their models and their algorithms, and if you don't fit in their boxes, you don't get the loan. And Dodd-Frank legislation is tying the hands of small lenders, shutting out buyers and shutting down lenders. Today, there are fewer lenders than at any time the government has kept records. 10,000 banks disappeared between 1984 and 2011.
This town needs this measly one-horse institution, if only to have some place where people can come without crawling to Potter. Come on.
In the movie, George gets to see what happens to the small town if Potter didn't have competition from credit unions and smaller lenders.
If it hadn't been for you...
Yeah, if it hadn't been for me, everybody would be a lot better off. My wife and my kids and my friends. Look, little fella, why you go off and haunt somebody else?
Yeah, so you still think killing yourself would make everyone feel happier, eh?
Oh, I don't know. I guess you're right. I suppose it'd been better if I'd never been born at all.
Pottersville, the only businesses thriving are vice. People are angry. The town is filled with signs like, keep moving, keep off the grass. Bert the cop actually shoots at George when he's running away and is no threat to anyone.
Stand back!
Everyone is a renter. No one has a stake.
Now, you're Ernie Bishop, and you live in Bailey Park with your wife and kid.
Look, Bud, what's the idea? I live in a shack in Pottersfield. My wife ran away 3 years ago and took the kid, and I ain't never seen you before in my life, see?
private property and everyone having a stake is the antidote to Pottersville.
Here, you're all businessmen here. Don't it make them better citizens? Doesn't it make them better customers?
But whether it's the Trans-Pacific Partnership or a global carbon tax, the global elite don't see you as a stakeholder. They want to turn us all into serfs and treat us like cattle.
Just remember this, Mr. Potter, that this rabble you're talking about, they do most of the working and paying and living and dying in this community. Well, is it too much to have them work and pay and live and die in a couple of decent rooms and a bath? Anyway, my father didn't think so. People were human beings to him, but to you, a warped, frustrated old man, they're cattle. Well, in my book, he died a much richer man than you'll ever be.
I'm not interested in your book. I'm talking about the building and loan.
I know very well what you're talking about. You're talking about something you can't get your fingers on.
Speaking of riches, do you find the salary amounts amusing when Potter tries to buy George off?
Let's look at your side. Young man, 27, 28, married, making, say, 40 a week.
45.
45. George, I'll start you out at $20,000 a year.
$20,000 a year?
You wouldn't mind living in the nicest house in town? Buying your wife a lot of fine clothes, a couple of business trips to New York a year, maybe once in a while Europe. You wouldn't mind that, would you, Jones?
Would I?
Even if George had saved a lot of his $20,000 salary, would it have bought much a couple of decades later? By even the government's very conservative estimate of inflation, the dollar has lost 90% of its value since 1947, when the movie was made. The Fed's deliberate inflation is devastating to anyone trying to accumulate wealth through hard work and saving. So what is the answer to all the George Baileys out there 100 years after the government gave control of our money supply to private bankers like Potter? Well, Potter had more money than he could spend. But would any of you want to be Potter?
You sit around here and you spin your little webs and you think the whole world revolves around you and your money. Well, it doesn't, Mr. Potter. In the whole vast configuration of things, I'd say you were nothing but a scurvy little spider.
George Bailey finally sees how rich his own life is, as he sees the fruits of relationship, honesty, and compassion.
Hey! Merry Christmas, Mr. Potter! Happy New Year to you! In jail. Go on home, they're waiting for you.
And if the public can awaken to the lies of the Federal Reserve, if it could even be audited.
Well, hello, Mr. Bank Examiner.
It would be a huge step to breaking the chains that enslave all of us. But ultimately, it is God that changes minds and changes hearts. God hates oppression, and we can and should confidently pray that he will stop it.
I owe everything to George Bailey.
Alex Jones out today, Owen Schroyer in, and President Trump's ratings up, despite pretty much nothing but negative press, lies, disinformation, ever since he announced he was going to be running for president. President Trump today has the same approval rating that President Hezbollah had after his first year in office. And when you look at the numbers, you look at the media coverage, and you recall how much of a media darling Obama was, Trump is a media punching bag, yet here President Trump is, right where Obama was at the exact same time. Excuse me, President Hezbollah. So now President Hezbollah is being called out for a, well, not a fake Christmas picture, but a recycled Christmas picture. He tweets out saying, "Merry Christmas from the Obama family," as if the picture was just taken. Nope, turns out it was actually taken 2 years ago. Nice try. But it's just like everything else President Hezbollah did, a total fraud. So Trump, though, actually brought Christmas back to the White House in a glorious fashion. Melania Trump, the first lady, first time we've had a first lady in 8 years. She did a wonderful job decorating the White House. And a lot of people are saying she kind of rubbed Michelle Obama's nose in it, because a lot of Melania's decorations included candy, where Michelle Obama didn't allow candy around Christmas, because she was such a health nut, with her wide shoulders and everything. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. So this is fully triggering. I mean, you can't even believe, see, what Trump does is he's forcing people to show their true colors. And right now on Twitter, he's tweeting about Vanity Fair. We're going to cover that later. He's also tweeting about China now moving oil to North Korea, which he doesn't like that, so that's going to have to be addressed. We'll perhaps get into more of that later. Maybe something will break on that. That's big news. But what President Trump does is he's forced people to show their true color. So, oh yeah, the war on, oh yeah, I'm sure there's a war on Christmas. Sure, war on Christmas. Pfft, look at this nut that says a war on Christmas. Okay, well then what happens? President Trump says Merry Christmas, and the Southern Poverty Law Center says that's extremism. President Trump says Merry Christmas, and CNN says that's a racist dog whistle. No, I'm not making it up. Here's the clip.
Happy holidays.
Okay, so Margaret, I mean, this is a line that we have heard from Donald Trump many. Why does he continue? This is a dog whistle to the base because no one has ever stopped saying Merry Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, except for that if you turn on some of our competitive cable networks, they have entire hours and programming about the war on Christmas.
Pause it real quick. Pause it real quick. I just want to correct something here. You're not competitive, CNN. Okay, you are not competitive. You're a nothing. You're a minor leaguer. You're Bush League. All right, now go ahead.
About the war on Christmas, and it is intended directly to go towards that cultural base that feels that other people are taking their America away from them. That was the dog whistle, make America great again. Great from what, right? The people who are taking Christmas away from you, the people who are taking your politics away from you, the people who are taking, all of your teddy bears away from you, whatever it is.
Well, now time out. Pause it right there. So, oh, okay, yeah, you're crazy and everything. Right. But again, here you are freaking out about it. Here the Southern Poverty Law Center is saying it's extremism. So if you're going to say Christmas is racist and extremism, isn't that what you're trying to eliminate? You're the ones obsessing over racism and extremism, trying to eliminate it every day. So therefore, by that formula, you are literally on air right now trying to eliminate Christmas as you're saying it doesn't exist. Let's go back to the clip.
We're going to bring Christmas back, and that's, it's disingenuous. It's not true. But there is a kernel of truth. But but you have to understand, like there is
There's not much that's fact-based on the cultural.
No, to the
lately
cultural
these days it used to be.
No, but the politics of cultural resentment is all about narrative, right? And when confronted with facts, it falls apart. But it's because things feel emotionally true.
Well, that doesn't seem to stop CNN from reporting on lies.
It's a lousy basis for trying to unite the nation.
Yeah. And you two looking like I said, all lit.
We're just trying to unite the nation here. Merry Christmas.
Oh, yes.
And happy holidays, too.
Oh, yeah, CNN trying to unite the nation with Don Lemon with the turtleneck on. What? With Don Lemon with the turtleneck? So, saying Merry Christmas is a racist dog whistle, according to CNN. Saying Merry Christmas is extremism, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center. They claim that they're fighting racism and extremism every day that they go on air. But they're also saying no one is attacking Christmas, even though the very nature of that conversation is that they're attacking Christmas. I'm telling you, these people are so contorted. I can't even imagine the mental gymnastics they have to do just to form a conversation. I mean, they must pull a hammy, a frontal lobe every time they go on air. But you want to know what's even perhaps the saddest part about this? That was an actual CNN segment. That was an actual CNN segment on Don Lemon's show, debating whether or not there's a war on Christmas as they're attacking President Trump for talking about Christmas. And you'll wonder why CNN is failing in the ratings. So we happen to like Christmas here when we happen to have a open sense of humor. So let's go back to Donald Trump saying Christmas is here, a little bit of a remix. There's the beautiful White House setting, decorated by Melania.
So Christmas time is here again. Shove it up your vegan face. You'll do a lot more stuff in the new year unless you're dead. People love different foods. Organic chicken is a snooze. I want more grease and I want more chocolate cake. Christmas is here, yeah, Christmas is here. Grab a friend's hand and yank them near. It's the best time of the year. Christmas is here.
This is all to Donald Trump and now Melania lip syncing.
Fly. I'd like a bunch of Christmas Christmas flowers.
I've been eating jelly beans for hours. I hate the sweater wearers. I think I mentioned that when I finally speak, I won't tell you anything at all. The problem is yours, 'cause I'm a looker and I run the show.
Please help
Christmas
me.
is here, yeah, Christmas is here. Look into the sun with zero fear. It's the best time of the year. Christmas is here. I just got a very adorable present. A Trump robot clearly sent from heaven.
I'm not the real Donald Trump, but I can scare you just as much.
Christmas is here, play in the snow. Grab a friend's hand and don't let go. I'm the most big league guy I know. Christmas is here. I'm the best part of the year. Christmas is here.
Here's the best part of the year. Christmas isn't fun, at least when you're not a real human. Oh, why can I not know love?
So that is the bad lip reading of Donald Trump, Christmas is Here. If you're familiar with bad lip reading, they do pretty funny stuff over there. They take basically lip syncing and put words over it. So if you want to check out that viral video, I'm sure you can find that all over the internet. But again, we have an open sense of humor here. They took some shots at Donald Trump in that video, but I still laughed at it and had a good time. So here's the deal. When we come back, we're going to kind of put Christmas behind us, if we will, for this broadcast, and we're going to look at some of the other news. There is other news that is going on right now, but guys, pull up President Trump's tweet because I want to make sure it's right. He tweeted about China allowing oil to go to North Korea. Now, if you recall, when Trump first started addressing North Korea, here's a story on Zero Hedge. U.S. spy satellites catch Chinese ships illegally selling oil to North Korea. President Trump tweets about it this morning, saying he's very upset that China did that. This is what Trump said when he first started going after North Korea. We need to stop allowing the oil to go there. He supposedly negotiated a deal with China, and then China stopped the oil from going there. Well, now it's going there again. So is this China double-crossing, or was there never really a deal reached? We'll have to find out. You thought you could destroy President Trump, didn't you? You thought you could destroy President Trump by having as much negative coverage for President Trump as you had the previous three presidents combined. Yet here we stand today, and President Trump's approval rating, despite all of the negative press, all of the lies and disinformation and false accusations, President Trump remains today as popular as Obama was, a media darling who could do no wrong a year ago. But you know, it's amazing, all of the double standards, and I'm sure I'm not telling my audience anything new, but one of the crew was just pointing out, you know, Obama said Merry Christmas too. You know, Obama celebrated Christmas too. You know, he recycled that old picture from Christmas 2 years ago. You know, maybe he didn't celebrate it this year. Maybe he did. I don't know. He recycled that picture. But yeah, here's the story. Yeah, Obama saying Merry Christmas 17 times. Where was the liberal outrage? Trump says that it's bad. Well, Trump is white, so Trump can't say anything because he's a racist bigot. Obama, though, half black, President Hezbollah, he can do no wrong. Oh, and by the way, President Hezbollah also said that Jerusalem was the capital of Israel, and liberals were silent on that. So, you know, that's just what we deal with here. But look, fake news media like CNN and MSNBC is losing. Liberal, bias, radical leftist media like the Young Turks is losing miserably. And Infowars is expanding. And this is because you are supporting us. And when we expand and when we get your support, you know, we don't get new fancy cars or anything. We expand what you want us to do. So now we're live for 10 hours a day at Infowars.com/show. It starts off with David Knight in the morning, then the Alex Jones Show, then the War Room with myself and Roger Stone. And it's all thanks to you at InfoWarsStore.com. Is that Santa Claus?
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus is here.
I don't know why I just
Santa
popped in
Claus
here. Want to say Happy New Year to everybody. Live transmissions coming up. David Knight, all you guys doing a great job, crew. I'm so out of my mind. I was like walking through here, the people aren't supposed to, and I'm like, wait, Owen's live on air.
Look at that.
So what's going on here?
Look at Alex Jones
interrupting my own show.
What did they say you do? You bellow, is it? Are you bellowing again?
I do interrupt too much.
He's bellowing, folks. He's interrupting as I'm trying to help fund the operation. I mean, it's unbelievable what Alex Jones does. He gives you 50% off half the store for Christmas, you know. But you support us, folks. That's the most important thing. You support us, and you want us to go to the next level. And so that's why we bring you these specials. That's why we have InfoWarsStore.com, and that's why we expand our broadcast. So Alex has big plans for 2018, and with your continued support, you're going to see those plans manifest themselves. Okay, here's the deal. I'm going to open up the phone lines in the second hour. Now, this was a story from Pew Research Center, 17 striking findings from 2017. I found most of these striking findings to be trivial and not as hard-hitting as I thought they should be. So I want to ask the audience, as we wind down 2017, what a year it was, what were the most striking findings to you in 2017? To me, I go with Hillary Clinton rigging the election against Bernie Sanders. I go with Peter Strzok admitting he needed an insurance plan, that's the FBI, in case Trump won. You know, these are the things. How about JFK files getting released? These are the things that I find most striking from 2017. So 1-877-789-ALEX, 1-877-789-2539. Call into the show. What were your most striking findings from 2017? These are undeniable things from 2017. So we'll be taking your calls in the second hour. For now, though, we're going to go to Paul Joseph Watson celebrating a milestone. Our very own Paul Joseph Watson thanking you for his latest milestone.
I'm here in Spain with a special New Year's message for all my subscribers, followers, and readers over at Infowars.com. Now, some people have been asking why there haven't been any new videos recently. Well, I've been ill or bedridden for much of the past month, but now I'm back. Back to thank you all for the continued incredible support in helping me smash 100 million views on the channel for 2017. 100 million views in 12 months. Not bad for a weirdo with a strange accent ranting about politics. I cannot express how truly grateful I am for each and every single subscriber. I mean that directly from the heart. Also, a personal thank you to the haters, without whom I wouldn't have anything to fuel my fire. Seriously, you're the main reason why I get up in the morning, so please never stop, because you know I won't. But to my subscribers, please go easy on leftists at this time of year, because it's really hard for them. Christmas and New Year's, we're talking family, joy, happy children, Christianity, eating meat, goodwill to all men, enjoying the plentifulness that capitalism enables. It's literally everything they hate. Spare a thought for the miserable bastards. Now, although the festive season is a time of plenty, it's important to remember the things we lost. Things like Eminem's career, which died in 2017, rest in peace. Things like Hollywood's ability to relentlessly lecture and virtue signal, given that it's been exposed as the degenerate cesspit we always knew it to be. Things like the sanity of millions of Americans who drove themselves crazy with conspiracy theories about Russian collusion and hysterical delusions about Donald Trump. But while they devolve into fevered paranoia about Trump ripping apart the country, many lives were actually ripped apart this year as a result of Islamic terrorism. While we spent our Christmas surrounded by loved ones, thousands of families across the world spent Christmas beset by grief and emptiness, thanks to the religion of peace. We shall never forget the victims of Manchester, London, Barcelona, Stockholm, New York and Melbourne. We shall never allow political correctness to silence our condemnation of a radical belief system that spreads misery and terror wherever it goes. New Year's is a time of renewal, a recommitment to the principles we hold dear. But the left has an advantage because they're dimwits. They never get bored of hearing their own tired cliches repeated over and over again. They never get bored of hearing their own droning voices. They never get bored of saying the same old about the same subjects. Whereas intellectually curious people do get bored of saying the same thing about the same subjects over and over again. So therein lies our challenge. We have to continue to innovate new ways of reaching new people with the same underlying principles. The reassertion of Western civilization, objective standards of beauty, true freedom of speech, free market capitalism. We're heading into 2018. Imagine what people living 50 years ago in 1968 thought 2018 would be like. Flying cars, a cure for cancer, intergalactic space voyages to other worlds. Instead, we're still here trying to explain why communism is bad. 50% of US millennials would prefer to live under communism than capitalism. Yeah, we've got a lot of work to do. 100 million views for 2017 on YouTube alone is pretty good, but it's not enough. 2018 is going to be absolutely massive. Happy New Year to everyone. Let's make it one to remember. I love you all, and thank you.
Lance, Kevin, Sam, Brett, and others, your calls on the other side. But first, a compilation of the tax reform apocalypse put together by Darren McBreen.
We're going to give the American people a huge tax cut for Christmas. Hopefully that will be a great, big, beautiful Christmas present.
Boo! You promised us a wall. Boo!
Well, the good news for President Trump is that his tax plan just passed the Senate. The bad news is he might not be president long enough to sign it.
How could Trump possibly defend a plan that raises taxes on the middle class and cuts them for high earners? Well, by not knowing or understanding anything about it.
You have a group of people who have no idea how to govern. They don't understand public policy. They don't understand how this country interacts with the rest of the world. There are people that have never held these jobs who for the most part want to destroy the very agencies that they're representing.
Trump could save like $1 billion in taxes.
He's going to benefit. Beautiful.
I really believe that he ran for president just so that he could cut his own taxes. He had no interest in governing. I swear to God.
Experts also say the plan will give huge.
Actually, I think his taxes in New York went up, you bimbo.
A year. Of course, all that money will eventually trickle down, first from rich parents to their kids, and then from those kids to their Molly dealers at Coachella.
I mean, finally we have a leader who understands what average truckers care about, passing our multi-million-dollar estates on to our privileged offspring.
You know, once the Republicans get this tax bill passed, they won't need Donald Trump anymore. I mean, they already got what they wanted. You know, I mean, it's not like they like you.
It looks like Trump is, how should I put this? What's the word? Lying? Because based on the last Trump tax return that we know anything about, this plan would have saved him $31 million in taxes. That's $31 million for himself.
I am submitting to this court
Again,
of inquiry.
another misnomer.
That is the reason he ran.
I can't even. These people are such liars.
It is not. I don't believe his motivation was to help the country.
Maybe it cut his federal taxes, but he's going to be paying more with state tax now.
And people can't stop talking
in New York.
About my new tax plan.
Oh my God, I loved
Trump's new tax plan.
It was awesome and action-packed.
I usually can never drag her out to see it. My new tax plan.
I didn't expect to like it, but...
Trump's new tax plan.
To summarize, our plan goes from 8 tax brackets down to 4, cuts the corporate tax rate from much more and equal to 35% tax and brings it all the way down to 20% and cuts tax rates for small businesses to the lowest level in more than 80 years.
Yes, bottom line, he's taken our tax plan back more than 80 years to the 1930s, the era that will forever be known as the Great Happiness.
That's not even funny. These people aren't even funny.
Stop messing with people and telling them that we're going to pay for a wall we didn't ask for. If you're going to generate money from your company, and also, I'm sorry, You know,
I don't know how people watch this.
If you really want to help the middle class and generate money for the economy, you need to keep money in the middle class pocket.
That's what this is doing.
No, that's what this is doing. No.
There are some elements of it that will benefit the middle class. We've got to make those permanent.
The general shape of this legislation has been clear from its first iterations, that it will hurt people who make less money. It'll hurt poor people, working people, middle-class people.
We see broadly that this tax bill is unpopular and that
Well, you just have to ask yourself, are all of these people that fake, that phony, that bought and paid for? Or are they going after Trump because they're afraid maybe he's investigating something they've been involved in? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. So we just saw and heard the compilation of all of the fake news late night hosts. They're actually literally fake news. They're comedians posing as anchors. But you can sense it. You can taste it. You can feel it. You know that they really do hate Trump. And when they're up there reading the fake news about Trump, it's honestly to deceive the audience into hating Trump as much as they do. And, you know, again, it's so hard to explain. But the louder they shout against Trump, the more skeletons they have in their closet. And I thoroughly believe that. And the reason why we're seeing this confluence of voices crying out against Trump is because I think what they've been involved in for decades is about to all come crashing down. You know, the spirit cookings and such. You know, President Trump says that people that kidnap and rape children need to die a quick death. So I'm just throwing that out there. But I wanted to go back to this video. I feel it's timely now. This is from Hillary Clinton in 2016, basically saying everything else they said about Trump that ended up being completely false and that Trump would destroy the economy. Here's Clinton.
But you might think that because he has spent his life as a businessman, he'd be better prepared to handle the economy.
Pause it right there. Pause right there. This is so key. See, this is why they said Trump was not fit for office, because you have to be a total criminal, corrupt, crooked, lying sack of crap like Hillary Clinton. That's how you fit into Washington, D.C. So Trump, not a career politician, actually made his own money by working in the private sector. And then Hillary Clinton says, well, you can't have that. How would he know what he's doing? He's actually had real life experience. He doesn't know what he's doing. This is again from 2016. Go back to Clinton.
Well, it turns out he's dangerous there, too.
Oh, yeah.
Just like he shouldn't have his finger on the button, he shouldn't have his hands on our economy.
Oh, yeah. And they all cheer.
One of the leading firms that analyzes the top threats to the global economy, called the Economist Intelligence Unit, comes out with a new list of threats every month. It includes things like terrorism and the disintegration of Europe. And this month, number 3 on the list is Donald Trump becoming president of the United States. Just think about that.
So more
Every
fake
day
news.
We see how reckless.
You tried to steal an election. Let me tell you something. Hillary Clinton is caught red-handed trying to steal an election. Do you understand? Oh, you can pick it up. So Hillary Clinton basically works around ways and uses the DNC to fund the Trump dossier, which is fake. Everyone knows it's fake. It gets floated around. Nobody wants to report on it until the trash of the trash BuzzFeed decides to publish it. Now you've got them trying to pay FBI agents to certify it as real. They won't even touch it. Then you find out James Comey and Peter Strzok from the FBI worked together to edit the terminology in the investigation so that Hillary Clinton could walk away without being charged, even though she was guilty as sin. Then you find out that the Orrs, Bruce and Nellie Orr, were in contact with Fusion GPS and Christopher Steele, who made up the fake dossier, and were probably communicating over a ham radio. Oh, and Bruce Orr was also visiting President Obama's Oval Office dozens of times. Oh, yeah, and he said we need an insurance policy in case Trump wins. Oh, yeah, and we had the Democrats caught red-handed thanks to Project Veritas admitting that they do dirty tricks in order to win elections. Oh, and by the way, I guess now's as good a time as any. Roy Moore files complaint to block Alabama Senate result. Roy Moore hasn't given up. He says there was voter fraud. And he doesn't want Doug Jones to be certified yet. So that lawsuit is ongoing, and I think Roy Moore has a case. We'll see what happens there. But regardless, let's get back to the point. Hillary Clinton in 2016 said if Trump got his hands on the economy, it would be devastating. And so did CNN and MSNBC and Newsweek and the rest of the fake news. But then what happened? Trump got every quarter a 3% GDP growth. 4 for 4. Obama, 0 for 16. Obama goes 0 for 16 in trying to get, I guess actually it was worse. He went 0 for 32. I'm sorry. Obama goes 0 for 32 on a 3% GDP growth. Trump goes 4 for 4. Obama had 0 stock market records. Trump keeps breaking them. But yeah, Trump will be bad for the economy. But here's another distinct difference as far as the political movements are concerned. We played a video earlier of a bad lip reading of Donald Trump where they give President Trump a pretty hard time. I thought it was funny. I thought it was a good video. I laughed at it. But now here's Vanity Fair trolling Hillary Clinton in a video, and the left freaked out. So here's Vanity Fair trolling Hillary Clinton. 6 New Year's resolutions for Hillary Clinton.
It's time to start working on your sequel to your book, What Happened? What the hell happened?
Get someone on your tech staff to disable autofill on your iPhone so that typing an F doesn't become Form Exploratory Committee for 2020.
You know, on Anderson Cooper, you were telling him about alternate nostril breathing. You seem really adept. You should try teaching a class.
Take more photos in the woods. How else are you going to meet unsuspecting hikers?
Take up a new hobby in the new year. Volunteer work, knitting, improv comedy, literally anything that'll keep you from running again.
To finally put away your James Comey voodoo doll. Now, we all know you think that James Comey cost you the election, and he might have.
James Comey kept her out of prison.
It's a year later, and time to move on.
She should be thanking James Comey.
Hillary Clinton.
Cheers to you, Hillary.
Cheers to you, Hillary Clinton.
You know what? Cheers to you, Hillary Clinton, because you'll never be president. How do you like that? Cheers to Hillary Clinton for never being president. But so they put out that video, and the left freaks out. That video wasn't even that hard hitting. It wasn't even really that funny. And the left freaks out. Oh, how dare you give Hillary Clinton such a hard time? Why are you going after Hillary Clinton? You can't joke about Hillary. Oh my gosh. And everybody's wondering why Vanity Fair would put out that video, because the left doesn't even have a sense of humor. A wise man once told me, if you can't laugh at yourself, you're missing out on the greatest joke of all. So, unfortunately for liberals, they're missing out on the greatest joke of all. And then the second greatest joke of all, Hillary Clinton. And you're not allowed to joke about that. But isn't that hilarious? Not only does the left can't handle humor when it's aimed at them, but again, Clinton says in 2016, if Trump gets his hands on the economy, it's going to be devastating. It couldn't be farther from the truth if you told me that you hopped in the ocean and it wasn't wet. So, you know, can they get any crazier? Can the libtards' IQ get any lower? Do they even want to wake up and smell the coffee? Do they even want to be successful? I mean, this is what I'm saying. Look at the GDP. Look at the jobs growth. Look at unemployment going down. Look at welfare going down. Why not get on this train? Even if you don't like Trump, why not get on the winning team? Why not enjoy the fact America's booming right now? They can't even do that because they're so filled with hate. They can't even, and it's all fake news. It's all the Seth Meyers fake news. It's all the Trevor Noah fake news, the Stephen Colbert fake news. All the fake news convinces all the fake people that President Trump is a fake president, even though he's the first real president probably in all of these people's lives. I promise I'm going to get to your phone calls immediately on the other side. Lance, Kevin, Sam, Brett, Chaz, don't go anywhere. The Alex Jones Show returns. Alex Jones on a working vacation. It's the only type of vacation he knows. Owen Schroyer filling in for Alex Jones. We go to the phone lines now. Let's kick it off with Lance calling in from Texas. Go ahead, Lance. You're on the air.
Hey, Owen.
Hey.
You handsome son of a gun. I'd always just listen to you guys over the shortwave, but I saw you on the internet the other day. I got to ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you get sexually harassed by those women in Austin? I used to live there.
You know, I made a joke of it yesterday because of the whole Joy Villa thing, which, again, I mean, at least, you know, part of me is like, hey, she's pressing charges, so at least, you know, that's one thing. The other part of me is like, you know, if let's say a drunk woman walks up to me and slaps me on the butt, the last thing I'm thinking about is a lawsuit. I can assure you that. You know, but now this whole story is kind of taking a weird turn. I mean, if you look at the picture of Joy and Corey Lewandowski, she seems to be enjoying herself. Other people that were at that event said they never saw such a thing, but I don't know. That's a non-issue to me. In fact, you know, I'll just be perfectly honest with you at this point. I don't really care about any of the details of this. It's none of my business. However, I'll just go ahead and make this statement now because I know a lot of our audience wants to hear it. But I just don't think Joy is electable at this point. She's too toxic with the Scientology stuff and now with this lawsuit going. Unfortunately, that's just my opinion, and no one's going to censor me here at Infowars, so that's me. But as far as being sexually assaulted, I mean, it's just ridiculous. You know, if someone is sexually assaulted, it's like, you know, it's kind of obvious. If someone is drunk and walks up to a girl at the bar and is inappropriately slapping them on the butt, what happened to a nice turnaround slap in the face right in public? A little public embarrassment, perhaps, is all that person deserves. But now apparently, you know, it's assault if you drunkenly pat a girl on the butt. Not saying I do that, but, you know, again, is that worthy of a lawsuit and a police investigation? I don't know. And, you know, harassment now is asking a girl for a phone number. So what they're going to do is they're going to turn men off from having a libido. They're going to turn men off from actually approaching a woman they find attractive. And this is all part of the destroying of the family agenda that we know exists. So, but as far as, I'm not even going to answer that question. Thank you for the call, Lance. Let's go to Kevin in West Virginia, which, by the way, it looks like Kevin is calling on this subject. What I want to hear from callers is, Pew Research Center had a story today, 17 striking findings from 2017. I find them to be rather trivial, so I want to know, what are the biggest striking findings to you? My list has to be, you know, Peter Strzok, Bruce Orr, and everything that was exposed with them trying to fix the election from the people electing Donald Trump. You've got Hillary Clinton rigging the primaries against Bernie Sanders. You got the JFK cover-up being exposed. Those are my biggest striking findings. Let's now go to Kevin. Kevin, what do you think was the most striking finding in 2017?
Well, I have two. And the number one is the JFK files. It proves to me that the same tactics that they were using back in the 60s are the same tactics that they're using today.
Now, let's be clear here. Are you talking about how the government and the CIA implants operators in media in order to carry out false news and false narratives?
Absolutely. That's one of them. It's that tactics with Mockingbird.
And this, exactly, and Project Mockingbird was exposed in the church hearings. So this is just history.
Yes, just history. The other thing that I find to be very, very fascinating, and I take a whole different approach to this, and it's the Pentagon releasing their black operations, showing that we actually have, quote unquote, alternative physics for energies, you know, 0-point energy, and energy we could be using to stop these, I call them big energy or the oligarchs. You know, that's one less thing, like in a light bill that we need to be paying, when we know there's this alternative physics and alternative energy and alternative, you know, technologies, per se, out there. to me, I find that fascinating. I don't think it's, extraterrestrial or whatever.
Well, you know what? That might be something, Kevin, to look forward to in the coming years, maybe 2018, maybe 2019, because let's not forget the inaugural address from President Trump said, we're going to discover the mysteries and the secrets of the universe together, the hidden technologies and everything. So maybe that's some of the stuff he's talking about. We know that, I think it was his uncle that was working with Tesla. So there's all kinds of theories out there, but I don't know if you could say that that was something as far as a striking finding in 2017, because I don't know if we have enough evidence to put on the table yet, but that might be something to look forward to.
Absolutely. And there's one more interesting with talking about of life extension technologies and all that technology. I've called in and told you before I have what's called retinitis pigmentosa, and I'm losing my eyesight. And they have came out with a new disease or a new cure, an eye injection, doing stem cell research and gene therapy. So that breaking, on the medical side, it's huge. But I have my own questions, with that. I mean, am I still human if I do this? I have all those other questions, with the, mixing.
Well, you know what? I would say, that is something obviously very personal to you. And I don't know if you're a religious person, but, your maker.
Yeah, absolutely. But I find, like you said, it's not really, that big of a finding or shocking. But I do think it's something we should look out for. We should look forward to.
I think so, and I have other, listeners that tell me about, certain things that have, kept them down or diseases or whatever, and now they're discovering, 10 years ago they were told they'd never be able to walk. Now they're looking at 2018 hoping to walk again. So there are incredible stories like that out there. Thank you so much for calling, Kevin. And just a point to that, this comes from the Washington Post. Americans are dying younger than people in other rich nations. Well, basically, the story here is Americans' life expectancy doesn't make sense according to the standard of living. And, of course, there is an explanation to that. We are literally poisoning our water supply with glyphosates and fluorosilicic acid, and we have poisoned our food supply with GMOs, and we've poisoned our environment with geoengineering and chemtrails. So if you're wondering why we have such a lower life expectancy than other nations with the standard of living we have, well, that's because we've poisoned ourselves and poisoned our environments. And at InfoWarsStore.com, we provide solutions to the poisons that are in the food, the water, and the environment. Thank you so much for the call. Sam, calling in from Mexico. You got 60 seconds. Fire away.
The skeletons in the closet, the Clinton crime conspiracy. Awesome that all that's coming up and it's being discussed even in the popular media. And also the Trump revolution that's going all around the world. We've talked about that some in Europe, but it's happening also all through the Americas.
So you say the Clinton body count going mainstream and nationalism going worldwide are the two things to you that were striking in 2017?
Absolutely. 3 different elections just happened in South America in December. Conservative candidates getting in. All these nations are very critical to our security in America, and we really should have shown them the democratic and the Christian way of life a long time ago. Finally,
Brazil also has a big election coming up this year. They've got nationalist candidates rising. It's very exciting time, and that's the thing. People say, "Oh, you're nationalist, so you must hate everyone." No, we want everyone to be nationalists. We want every country to succeed. We want every country to have a culture and identity. Then when I go visit there, it's exciting and thrilling and something different. Owen Schroyer filling in for Alex Jones today on a working vacation. And we are taking your calls right now, so let's get right back to it. Let's go to Brett calling in from New York. Go ahead, Brett.
Hey, Owen, how are you doing?
Doing good.
Great. I just want to talk about the whole thing with Project Veritas and Van Jones, the big nothing burger, right? They come out and attack James O'Keefe instead of analyzing what he actually said. And the classic liberal tactic, they attack him personally instead of arguing facts, which you are familiar with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ignore the content, ignore what was actually exposed, and just attack the person you disagree with. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's no coverage of it. He's a darling of CNN. And they lie and deny just like Hillary. And I think journalism is completely dead.
Well, now, think about this, though. I wanted to hear from callers today. because Pew Research Center says 17 striking findings from 2017. Nothing in there about the JFK files, nothing in there about Hillary Clinton rigging the DNC or anything like that. But the caller brings up a great point, Brett. Yeah, how about everything that Project Veritas has exposed? I mean, these guys, you say journalism is dead. Well, Project Veritas is keeping it alive and well, and you've got this whole Russian collusion thing where, CNN is one of the leaders. They talk about it every day. Trump colluded with Russia. They really think it's true. They're really going to convince their audience it's true, even though it's totally made up. It's completely fabricated, and the very roots of it can be found in the Hillary Clinton camp. And yeah, again, many people have seen the video of myself and Van Jones talking on the streets of Cleveland, where Van Jones seems like a regular guy. We have differing opinions, but a regular guy. So I don't know why Van Jones goes on air with all of these CNN talking heads and doesn't stand up against the Russian collusion narrative, because, as you said, Project Veritas caught him on the street saying, yeah, there's nothing to this story. The Russian collusion is a nothing burger.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the fact that they just have a general disdain for the American people, again, with the other CNN producers telling us the average American voter is stupid. They just don't respect us, mainly because they fear the Trump awakening.
Well, look, I mean, here's the thing, too. I didn't feel like Van Jones hated me because I was white when I was talking to him, but then he says that, Trump was elected because of a white lash. I mean, that seems to be a dog whistle. They're the ones who want to say dog whistle. I mean, is that not a dog whistle to black people? But then you have this story. Racist BuzzFeed lists things white people need to stop ruining in 2018. So BuzzFeed runs the story, 37 things white people need to stop ruining in 2018. This is exactly what you're talking about. They have a deep-rooted hatred for anyone that they disagree with. And even though they always try to cast it on white people, as soon as they find out, someone of a minority disagrees with them too, they hate them just as much.
The left is all for diversity, but the lack of diversity of thought. They don't agree with anyone unless you agree with them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And if someone would have written a story, 37 things black people need to stop ruining in 2018, it would have been hell to pay, and rightfully so. But not if you're BuzzFeed and you're a racist against white people, then it's okay.
Exactly.
All right, thank you for the call, Brett. Let's go to Chaz, also calling in from New York. Go ahead, Chaz.
All right. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the alt-tech movement, which I guess is like the alt-right movement, but, with technology, it's kind of like a thing combating Silicon Valley.
Okay, what are you talking about specifically?
Well, things like Gab and all that, alternative social media networks.
Alternative news.
Alternative news. I mean, there's something called Hatreon, which is like a alternative to Patreon, which is banned people. And I'm a Jew on Gab, and, people say that Gab is for Nazis. And and I have a lot of followers on Gab. People really seem to like me there. So I'm just like, how is Gab for Nazis?
Wow, I mean, this is like the Nazi President Trump standing side by side with Israel and Netanyahu and saying Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. I mean, what a Nazi!
I'm actually a dual U.S. Israeli citizen, and I'm very open about that on Gab.
Unbelievable.
I'm no fooling on there. NOFOOLINTULIN. And
well, I do think that this is I do think that this is a trend to continue to watch, just kind of alternative things to the mainstream, whether it be social media, news, technology. That's what the establishment has always wanted to suppress. That's what the globalists have always wanted to suppress. I mean, even Trump. Trump is essentially an alt politician. I mean, think about it. Trump is an alt politician. He's not a career politician. He didn't make his life working in government, so he's kind of an alt politician. So yeah, everything that's kind of alt from the mainstream, that the establishment and the globalists have tried to suppress is now kind of getting more momentum as we go into 2018. Thanks for the call, Chaz. Let's go to Roy calling in from Oregon. What is the most striking things from 2017 to you, Roy?
Well, you hit on one of them, and that was geoengineering. The other one that we haven't been hearing much about is Fukushima. I've just heard that a guy that my lady friend knows has 4-stage thyroid cancer.
Oh, my.
And I believe the West Coast is getting hammered with all this radiation from Fukushima.
Well, they can actually, in fact, while you're talking, the crew can actually pull up the maps where they show you how all this radiation. Now, they did find radioactive particles on the beach in California, but it was not cesium-137. So they still don't even know where that radiation was coming from. But yes, the cesium-137 is coming through the Pacific Ocean, and it's also killing the marine life.
Oh, yeah, it's horrible. When they first started talking about the honeybees dying off, I work in an industry where we use a lot of honey, and that was a big red flag for us, with the geoengineering, and we're getting sprayed constantly here on the West Coast.
Yeah, and all the pesticides that the bees can't pollinate.
Oh, yeah. I was up on Mount Hood skiing yesterday, and we're supposed to have tons of snow right now, and all we're getting is rain. And so I talked to Alex 4 years ago, and somebody had heard me, and they put me in their documentary, and the documentary is called The Battle of Fukushima. So anybody can get on YouTube and check that out. It's a really good documentary about all the radiation we're getting hammered with. And then also Dane Winnington on geoengineeringwatch.org. Go order those DVDs, and you can make copies of those and hand those out to people.
Yeah, it's almost amazing how these things have become passé. Like, the FBI covered up the JFK assassination. Yeah, right. Then it gets exposed. Yeah, well, whatever. Of course it happened. Like, what? How is that? Fukushima, the worst nuclear disaster, they still don't know what to do. They keep sending in these robots. The robots don't even work. They fail as soon as they get in there. It continues to leak into the ocean. Yet I have to listen to fake liberal politicians crying about global warming while they completely ignore what's happening in Fukushima. I mean, that really shows you that they don't care about the planet. They care about their agenda.
Yeah, and they keep talking about, well, we have to be worried about North Korea and Kim Jong-yuck, worried about him. Well, we're getting hammered all the time anyway. Look at the fires down in California.
Yeah, again, it's like, well, those
are all being started, and they're cutting off the rain to California.
Someone is starting those fires. I completely agree with you. I do not believe those are natural. I believe that is terrorism.
Right. But anyway, tell Rob Dew that I said hi. He was here for a Trump rally. I think it was last year, and
well, you can tell him hi. He's probably listening right now. Say, hey, Rob.
Well, hey, Rob, how you doing?
No, that's amazing. Roy, we got to go to break. Thank you so much for the call. But Roy brings up another good point. Again, it's just like everything else. It's just passé. Well, yeah, we got all this evidence now of geoengineering. Russia and China admits that they cloud seed to make rain. Whatever, So the conspiracy theorists were right again. Yeah, whatever. It's fine. We're talking most striking stories of 2017. We're hearing from the audience today. How about the Awan brothers? Luke Rosiak from the Daily Caller just tweeted out that the Awan court date, well, it had been delayed and delayed and delayed multiple times. Now it's just gone. Now they don't even have a date up there. It was supposed to be January 8th. So how about the Awans? You want to talk about striking stories? How about the Awans potentially working on illegal servers and potentially working for a handful of Democrats, getting their information? Who knows what they may or may not have been sending back to Pakistan. We know they were sending money back to Pakistan. We know that they tried to flee back to Pakistan before they were arrested. Then you've got stories about potential money laundering with car dealerships. So this is another striking finding from 2017. The Awan brothers and their activities inside of the Democrat National Committee and Party, all the work they did. Real quick, guys, let's go to Allie in California. Allie, what was the most striking story of 2017 to you?
Hey, Owen, how you doing? Good morning.
the most striking thing to me about 2017 was Donald Trump basically just exposing the big scandal, all the scandals going on with the corrupt Democrats and the government, everything going on. He's basically just lifting or moving the curtain to the side and showing everything that's out there, everything that's going on. It's all corruption. It's totally, absolutely amazing what's going on. And he's just showing us everything and shining light on it.
Yeah, exactly. If you wanted to do a visual representation, you would say it's the light getting shined in the dark room and the cockroaches all scatter. I called it the Trump test. I called it the Trump test. Now, this doesn't mean you have to, like President Trump, but the Trump test is, do you fall for the fake news? Do you just automatically and come out and hate Trump because you fall for the fake news? Or, a level up, if you're in the government or in the media and you're lying about Trump, you're going along with the fake Russian collusion story, then again, that's the Trump test. You failed. So yeah, that's another striking story from 2017. So many people got exposed just by Donald Trump's existence.
And they're exposing themselves by going up against him because what he stands for is us Americans. And
yeah, look at the whole Weinstein Gate thing. So you have Ashley Judd, a self-proclaimed nasty woman. She brags about being a nasty woman, but somehow, she's offended by Harvey Weinstein's nasty behavior. You can think whatever you want about that. I'm not sure if I'm buying that from Ashley Judd. Regardless, this whole Weinstein Gate started by the self-proclaimed nasty woman Ashley Judd, who's nothing more than a attention grabber, who may have been one of the people in Hollywood that sleeps with people for roles. We know that goes on. So, but they start this whole campaign, I call it Weinstein Gate, so that they can have it fall back on Donald Trump, except what happens? Hollywood is exposed as a bunch of sexual deviants. Hollywood is eating itself. Look at what's happening in liberal media circles with Charlie Rose and Mark Halperin, and the list goes on and on. So yeah, that's right. They completely expose themselves. I'm telling you, every time they go after Trump, it only exposes themselves. And trust me, they will all fall in the end. Thank you for the call, Allie in California. Let's go to Dan in Pennsylvania. Go ahead, Dan.
Hey, how you doing, Owen?
Good.
All right, so first of all, I wanted to say this is a great segment because it's really important to remind everybody how many times we've been lied to over the entire year. I mean, I think the best thing that's happened this year is we have a president who's not going to sell us out in the Paris Climate Agreement. But, I mean, beyond that, I think, it's really hard to pick just one. You got James Comey lying to Congress. You got the crime rate statistics that Tucker Carlson just exposed on illegals. You got 17 intelligence agencies lie that everybody in Congress pushed for the better part of a year. No one apologized about that. I mean, everything with Project Veritas, you just said.
Yeah, it really is amazing. They want to say racist this, bigoted that, xenophobe there. But you just look at the statistics. As you said, I know that Tucker Carlson highlighted this on his nightly news show. I don't know if that was last night or a couple nights ago, where if you look at the actual per capita between illegal immigrants committing a crime and citizens committing a crime, it's not even close. You wouldn't even believe it. Illegal immigrant. Well, first of all, just by coming to the country and being here as an illegal immigrant, you just committed a crime. But then on top of that, they are committing more crimes. But I'm the bad guy if I say I want to have a strong border, and I'm the bad guy if I want to have a legal immigration in this country.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think that, it's striking to me how somebody who was deemed literally Hitler just recognized Jerusalem as the capital.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's literally Hitler. He's had a great relationship with Netanyahu and Israel, so he's clearly Hitler. And he's clearly a xenophobe, too. I mean, obviously, the guy's a xenophobe. He married an immigrant. So it doesn't get more xenophobic than marrying an immigrant, as far as I'm concerned.
So as far as I'm concerned, I think that, we need to really hold the Democrats in Congress's feet to the fire about how long they lied to us over an entire year for whenever they're up for re-election.
Well, I'll tell you what. The only way to actually do that is to just get them out. Is to just vote them out. So that's why the 2018 midterms are going to be so important. And that's why you're going to see the Democrat dirty deeds, dirty tactics, dirty tricks, lies, and deceit be ramped up in 2018, if you can actually believe that. The Democrats are going to get even more lowbrow than they've ever been before. The Democrats are about to go lower than they ever had before. Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high, a total lie. They continue to go lower and lower and lower, and I'm predicting that in 2018, the Democrats will go lower than they ever have before in order to try to maintain their seats in Congress, because they know that if they don't, they're dead. The Democrats are a dead party. It is dead man walking territory right now for the Democrats. So they're going to throw everything they can against the wall in the 2018 midterms, and I predict it's going to fail, and the Democrat Party will be dead.
I think the Democrats don't pass the Schmel test anymore.
They don't pass the Schmel test. Was that a Adam Schiff Schmel test?
That's Ron Wyden.
Ron Wyden. Well, I can tell you that one example would be a Claire McCaskill in Missouri, who I hope gets unseated by a Republican. Me personally, Austin Peterson. You look at Debbie Wasserman Schultz. You know, she was one of the people that was close to the Awan brothers. Debbie Wasserman Schultz also was trying to intimidate police. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was actually working with Hillary Clinton to rig the DNC and the Democrat primary. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is really good at smashing servers with a hammer. So we hope that she gets unseated by Carla Spalding. So that's what we have to do. We have to vote in people and make the Democrats obsolete. Dead man walking, or should I say dead party walking, or should I say dead party falling over and fainting and being thrown into a van on September 11th. Or should I say dead party coughing up green goblins into a cup. Or should I say dead party coughing up so many times during the campaign she couldn't even finish a speech. That's right, the Democrat Party is now the walking dead. I mean, just look at some of these Democrat-run cities. How about Baltimore? Baltimore has now had 343 homicides in 2017, a record for killings per capita. That's a Democrat-led city for decades. How about Chicago? Chicago murder rate declines, but still alarmingly high. That's right, all of those gun legislation and all that stuff they did in Chicago, well, it's not really working. The Democrat-led city of Chicago is more violent, well, I guess not than ever, but still very violent with a lot of gun crime. But Rahm Emanuel is going to make sure to take care of all of the non-citizens first, because that's what he's all about. So that's just an example of the Democrat Party dying. And then you've got Sheila Jackson Lee. This woman is such a clown. Now she's being exposed as, I mean, quite frankly, a total witch, where she gets on airplanes and basically just tries to highbrow and put her chin up to everyone else and take anyone's chair. And I'm a Democrat. I'm Sheila Jackson Lee. Don't you know who I am? Give me your seat. And so I forget what happened, but she tried to file some complaint about someone doing that to her. And then all of these stories popped up of people witnessing her doing that. And they're like, wait a second, how is Sheila Jackson Lee complaining about this? I remember being on a flight years ago where she made an entire row of people move because she self-proclaimed herself as a queen. In fact, I think I have that story somewhere around here. Yeah, here it is. I'm a queen and demand to be treated like a queen. How Congresswoman involved in a race row on plane was chauffeured a block to Congress and was nearly banished from airline before. That's Sheila Jackson Lee, a Texas Democrat, a total bimbo, who has a history of bad behavior on planes and automobiles. Well, the truth is, these people just believe they're beyond reproach. They think they're untouchable. They think they're God's gift to earth. And they're about to have a real hard fall. Dead party walking, the Democrats are almost dead. Speaking of almost being dead, how about CNN? Let's go to George in California. Go ahead, George. You're on the air.
Hey, Owen. How are you doing?
Good.
The thing that I found striking, there's two things, actually. One is that CNN still thinks they're relevant, that everyone pays attention to their stories, and that they're real news. And the other thing that I find shocking is everything that's going on in California that Governor Brown is doing to us. For example, changing, infecting someone with HIV knowingly from a felony to a misdemeanor.
Yeah, meanwhile, if you say the wrong pronoun when addressing someone in a conversation, that's now an illegal offense. Or that's what they want. I don't know if that legislation actually passed, but they were pushing for it.
And the other thing is the push that California is doing for the LGBTQRXW. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just feel like it isn't right, and they obviously have an agenda behind it, where they're trying to infect our children's minds and basically infect their heads like that.
California, I mean, it's like the whole place needs to be fumigated or something. Like, I feel bad because, obviously George in California has his head screwed on straight, but I don't know how you could live out there, man. And now your taxes just went up astronomically because of your state taxes. Huh. Boy, California, but they're going to have a mass exodus. You're about to see tax refugees fleeing California. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. Owen Schroyer filling in for Alex Jones today. We've been hearing from our callers. We're going to go back to the callers again in this hour. But I've got some clips here of Bernie Sanders that I wanted to have a good laugh at. I mean, the guy, he's a caricature himself. He, a total fraud, a total wuss. But he does give some good clips that we can laugh at and we can totally rebut. So let's go to Bernie Sanders complaining about the individual mandate repeal. Yeah, because this is essentially gutting Obamacare that was illegal to begin with. Here's Bernie Sanders complaining that Trump basically just gutted Obamacare.
Another provision of this bill that was very interesting had to do with the elimination, the repealing of the individual mandate in Obamacare requiring individuals to buy health insurance. Take a listen to what President Trump had to say about this.
Obamacare has been repealed in this bill. We didn't want to bring it up. I told people specifically, be quiet with the fake news media because I don't want them talking too much about it because I didn't know how people would. But now that it's approved, I can say the individual mandate on health care where you had to pay not to have insurance. Okay, think of that one. You pay not to have insurance. The individual mandate has been repealed.
Your response?
That a president celebrates the fact that 13 million Americans will lose their health insurance.
Well, willingly.
Wrong.
They will.
Yeah.
They will.
Jake, we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people.
Wrong.
That's a lie. As a result of the repeal of the individual mandate,
Hippocratic oath.
13 million people will lose their health insurance.
Wrong.
Now, some of these young people who are healthy today, you know what? They can get hit by a bus tomorrow. They can be diagnosed with leukemia. Who do you think is now?
Oh my God!
As a result
oh yeah!
of the
Oh no! Just stop it! Just stop it! Just stop it! Oh no! So Bernie's. Oh Jesus! This is why we go to Bernie Sanders clips. Excuse me, I need a tissue. So Bernie Sanders is trying to make right the fact that you have young people paying way too much for health insurance under the Obamacare plan because they're healthy and they don't need to pay for all the stuff that older people need to get, or unhealthy people. And he tries to qualify that by saying, in fact, can we just listen to that again? Can we just rewind this again? I don't even believe what I just heard. Hold on. Can you guys, do I have an audio issue? Play this again.
Their health insurance.
Well, willingly. They will.
Yeah.
They will.
Jake, we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people. As a result of the repeal of the individual mandate, 13 million people will lose their health insurance.
Just a lie.
Now, some of these young people who are healthy today, you know what? They can get hit by a bus tomorrow.
Oh, I can get hit by a bus tomorrow. I can get hit by a bus tomorrow, so I should pay for everyone's health care. Thank you, Bernie. Oh my gosh, Bernie Sanders, you are just a genius. Wow, Bernie Sanders just changed my mind on health care. I mean, I could walk out of the studio right now and get hit by a bus. Please, I need Obamacare back. But he is totally lying. All Trump did was make it so that if you don't sign up for Obamacare, you don't have to pay a penalty. And he's sitting here saying Trump just took people's health care away. No, he didn't. All right, go back to the Seltzer man.
Repeal of the individual mandate. You are, I am, and every American who has health insurance. Instead of bragging about more Americans without health insurance, We should join every other major country on earth, guarantee health care to all people, and end the absurdity of paying twice as much per capita for health care.
Hey, Bernie, dude. You know, there's this little thing called America. And why America exists is so that if you didn't want to live in these other socialist countries or other countries where you couldn't practice your religion freely or whatever it is, you came here. You see, this is the West. This is the last bastion of freedom on planet Earth. You can't go any farther west. You end up in communist China. So that's why America was invented, so that people could escape socialism, escape communism. If you want free health care, why don't you go to the communist utopia of North Korea? Why don't you go to the communist utopia of Venezuela? Oh, they're falling apart. Wow, Bernie Sanders. I mean, that is just... All right, let's go to another one. Bernie Sanders says that DACA repeal is a moral outrage.
Look at something Republican Senator Jeff Flake tweeted after the Senate passed the final tax bill. He wrote, bipartisan DACA bill will be on the Senate floor in January. That's a reference to the bill that would allow people who are in this country illegally but were brought here when they were children by their parents to stay here to have some sort of legal status. Is a DACA fix going to be good enough, or do these people, in your view, need to have permanent citizenship?
That's much too vague a statement.
Yeah.
Let's look at what's going on.
Oh, really? Let's look at what's going on.
800,000 young people, often really bright, wonderful young people. They're in school, they're working, are there in the United States military. As a result of Trump's effort, or successful effort, to repeal DACA.
No, hasn't happened.
Their legal status is now in doubt. And every single day, people, these young people, these dreamers are losing their legal status. If we do not act,
that's just made up. He just made that up.
800,000 people.
That isn't, he just lied to you.
Who will be subject to deportation, thrown out of the only country they have ever known. This is a moral outrage. And by the way,
a moral outrage, but not the sanctuary cities where non-citizens murder people. That's not a moral outrage. And then they get to walk away without even a manslaughter charge. That's not a moral outrage. But, you know, something that never happened, Trump repealing DACA, that never happened. That's a moral outrage, according to Bernie Sanders. But Kate Steinle getting murdered and her murderer walking without manslaughter charges, nothing. Go ahead, finish this up.
Only country they have ever known. This is a moral outrage. And by the way,
you're a moral outrage.
A recent Quinnipiac poll came out. You may have seen it. 77% of the American people, overwhelmingly, Democrats, Republicans, independents, say that we have got to protect the legal status of these young people and that we have to move them toward citizenship. This is widely popular. That's what the American people want. Even people like Charles.
That's enough of that. So here's the issue on this. Because, you know, if Bernie Sanders wasn't such a fraud and a liar, we could actually have an agreement on parts of that conversation. The parts of that I think is true. A lot of these kids have never lived anywhere but the United States. You know, maybe they don't have options. Maybe they are contributing to society. So I'm not saying to deport all DACA recipients. In fact, I think I'd like to actually, and this is not a popular conservative view, but I would actually like to make a lot of the quote unquote DACA recipients citizens. Let's have a merit-based system. Let's see what they're up to, and maybe we can make them citizens. But here's the thing. They aren't the ones that broke the law. Their parents came here illegally. So what, are we just going to ignore lawbreakers now because Bernie Sanders cries moral outrage? A total fraud who had the election stolen from him, and then his supporters sued the DNC because they funded Sanders' campaign, and then they found out they just threw their money down the garbage because he was never really running? He was a stalking horse for Hillary Clinton? That's not a moral outrage. How about Bernie Sanders' wife under investigation for what she did working at the college that now goes under her leadership? How about a moral outrage there, Bernie Sanders? No moral outrage for Seth Rich from Bernie Sanders. No. Complete silence in response to Donna Brazil's book explaining what Hillary Clinton was doing to the DNC. No moral outrage there. However, Trump repealing DACA that has not happened, that Bernie Sanders says did happen, is a moral outrage. Is Bernie Sanders, I mean, what do you think Bernie Sanders' IQ actually is? You know, could he be classified as, well, I mean, We'll just leave it right there, folks. Bernie Sanders, a total fraud. All right, welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. Owen Schroyer filling in today. And we go back out to your calls on the phone lines. Let's start with Ed and Cynthia, tag teaming, calling in from New York. Go ahead.
Hi, Owen. My friend Cynthia and I have a theory that Alex Jones and Vladimir Putin are counterparts. She's on the line. I'll let her explain it.
Yeah, I discovered that he's 100% compatible, and it's based on birthdays. So it's astrologically like 50-50. So it's funny when people say that he's a Russian agent, and I'm like, how do you know? You know, he's actually way more than that. So I looked up some database, and it looks like the similarities are way more than the opposite, and that is exactly why he listens to the show, because they're very compatible. And I'm like, they're together for actually a greater purpose. There's something more to this than just saying, oh, they know each other. So I'm just like amazed by this information.
So what information?
That they're counterparts. They are 100%.
Well, just because you say they're counterparts, that's not information. That's opinion.
Well, it's based on planetary alignment. So let's say his planets were aligned a certain way.
So, but okay, all right. So whatever. So they're astrologically compatible according to you. So what's the bottom line?
The bottom line is that knowing this information, you can do so much with it, because they're actually they're a level where they're on the same page, like on the same wavelength. So they're together. They could be together for a greater purpose or a mission in life. So to me, knowing this, because I went through this myself, I know who my counterpart is.
Okay, but let me ask you this. I mean, are you joking? Or are you trying to make a gay joke? Or are you trying to say, like, they're going to do something good for the world because of this?
They can, yes. If they can do something great for the world together, yes.
So, okay, so maybe, you know, like nationalism or, you know, saving the family.
Anything they want when they collaborate together, when they're actually team players. I wish I can give you this information somewhere, but there's a lot. It's called like twin flames. So when you get together and your counterparts, there's males, there's females of you. So you can use that information to.
Well, I'll tell you what. You can tweet the information to me at All I Do Is Owen. You can tweet it at Real Alex Jones at Infowars on Twitter. But I'll tell you, I mean, Alex has never met Putin or spoke to Putin. So you're saying maybe we need to make that happen because they might be even more powerful.
Yes. You guys are way more powerful than you think you are. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, you own the world, basically, like, at this point.
Yes, Vladimir Putin and Alex Jones ride on horseback to defeat the New World Order.
No, that is why. That is exactly why you guys are getting to that level where you're recognizing this.
Well, I'll tell you, that is a very interesting call, Ed and Cynthia. Thank you guys so much for calling in. We don't get too much into astrology here at Infowars. I know that a lot of people are into that, and I do believe there is a little bit of something to that. But, hey, let's get Alex Jones and Vladimir Putin together. It would break the internet, and according to Ed and Cynthia in New York, it might break the back of the New World Order. So, Alex, now you have even more reason to meet Vladimir Putin. Apparently, you guys are soulmates, so hopefully that happens. All right, let's go out to Megan in Wisconsin. Go ahead, Megan.
How do you follow something like that now?
Jupiter rising or Jupiter ascending? Planet X?
That's not my, right.
No, I'm just joking. Go ahead.
No, I actually first wanted to kind of give a shout out to your guys' products. Like, you literally changed my life. My parents recognize it. My husband recognizes it. I save thousands upon thousands of dollars every year now because I'm not buying into pharmaceuticals, and I'm healthier than I've been in. Like, I can't even tell you the last time I remember feeling good like this. Your products are absolutely amazing. And, I mean, it wasn't just myself that it changed for. You changed it for my children. Like, I'm so incredibly thankful that I found you guys. And I
well,
found
you know,
because I was sick.
God bless you, and that's why we put these products out there. I mean, thank you for supporting us and sharing your testimony. If you don't mind, what were you getting from Infowars.com that was able to replace the pharmaceutical drugs?
The first thing that I ever purchased was the Survival Shield, and
that's life changing.
It absolutely is. Like I didn't believe it. Like I was listening to your show, and after a while of feeling like crap and not knowing why, Dr. Group was on, and he was talking about different things that iodine deficiency does. And I'd also been injured by vaccines. I was a mess, and I was honorably but medically discharged from the military because I was in chronic pain. They said it was fibromyalgia, and like seriously, 15 different prescriptions a day. Nothing was making me feel any better. I was always feeling worse. And trying your products after like a week, because that first couple days, I mean, especially if you're really deficient and you've got a lot of the crud built up in your system, it feels bad at first because you're detoxing. But after that, like I literally feel like $1 million. And I've gotten my family members to try your products too after they saw the huge difference that it made in my life. And same for my dad. My dad, he'd had allergies for years that just kept getting progressively worse. The first year that he was on it, he did not have any allergies. My sister, after she was done with the surgery, she was trying to get off of, the pain medication that they give you for the surgery. Well, then she couldn't sleep. So then she tried Knockout. And the very next morning she said, "Oh my God, thank you so much for giving this to me. This is the best sleep that I have had in over a month," because that's how long it had been since she could sleep. And she was going down the road of different pharmaceuticals. I'm like, no, you need to just try this. And she wouldn't have tried it until I gave it to her. But now she swears by it. I mean, your products literally make such a huge difference in people's lives.
Now, let me ask you this, because we're almost out of time in this segment. You were talking about dealing with fibromyalgia. This, for people that aren't familiar with this is one of the most painful things that they have no idea what to do with it. They don't even know what causes it. If you know someone that has it, it can be such deliberating pain. They don't even know what to do with themselves. Are you still experiencing that?
No. After I started taking your guys' products.
Have you tried DNA Force?
I have not tried DNA Force just because the cost is a little prohibitive.
Yeah, because I was just curious because I know, like I said, fibromyalgia, they don't even know what to do with it. It's kind of just a crapshoot trying to deal with it. So I'm just trying to figure out, I mean, you could probably really help a lot of people. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what you did
I'm not either, but honestly, the doctors had no idea why I was in pain. And I mean, I was at multiple different neurologists, different people for GI stuff.
Well, I'll tell you what, Megan, you did. Thank you so much for your testimony and the product plug there. You didn't even get to your point, but I got to go to break here. So we're going to hold Megan over into the next segment and we'll get her point. Most striking stories of 2017 we're hearing from our audience. Don't go anywhere. This is the Alex Jones Show. Owen Schroyer filling in for Alex Jones, and this is your daily reminder to not take your flu shot. That's right. This is the public awareness announcement to not take your flu shot. Where was I yesterday? I was somewhere yesterday and I heard people talking about the flu shot, how they took it, and they wanted to get another one. Oh, wow. And then I was just sitting here on Twitter. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch is saying, looks like there might be a shortage of flu shots. This is going to cause the flu to be even worse. But then you actually have even more stories where the people that make the flu vaccine admit it's not effective. We have all the studies that show it's not effective. And so this is just your public address announcement here to not get a flu shot. Please do not inject yourself with that poison. All right, we're holding Megan over. Megan, what was the most striking thing to you in 2017?
To me, it was seeing everybody waking up, because none of the stories that the mainstream media is or isn't covering, or any of the things that you guys have been talking about for decades now, none of it would have made any kind of impact at all if people wouldn't have been awake. And I see everywhere I go, because, I work in a industry where you're surrounded by leftists. Even they're waking up. Like, I have people coming to me and asking me questions on a daily basis now because they're starting to wake up and they're starting to ask the questions. And I think that, we're in the point in history where change is starting to happen because of that. That's what I see as the most exciting and impactful thing in 2017, because none of these huge policy changes that Trump is trying to push through would have been able to happen if people wouldn't have been awake. Same with the Harvey Weinstein.
Yep.
Same with, if people weren't awake, it would have faded away into the background, just like it had been for years.
Yeah, the exposure of the fake news networks, CNN and MSNBC, totally exposed by Trump. The entire Weinstein Gate and all the sexual perversions in Hollywood would not have been exposed if it weren't for President Trump. But, the one thing you're talking about with the public awakening, with the quote unquote leftists waking up, you're so right. There are so many, quote unquote liberals or leftists that are actually fair-minded. They have different political ideas than us, but they're not crazy. They don't buy into the anti-Trump hysteria. They don't buy the fake Russian collusion, which is why sometimes I feel guilty kind of, playing into the left-right, liberal-conservative divide and conquer, because honestly, I don't really like identifying as any of that. And I kind of feel bad when I sit here and bash liberals or bash radical leftists, because there is a section of people that have leftist ideologies or liberal beliefs that aren't totally whacked out of their mind, that don't hate America, that are coming over. So I'm not sure what we do to kind of negate grouping all those people in together when some of them are actually fair-minded people. But no doubt, the public awakening in 2017 was huge. I'm not sure what the biggest red pill was. You had President Trump, you had the WikiLeaks emails, you had Project Veritas. It's just, you just look at what President Trump has been saying and has done. You look at what Project Veritas has exposed. You look at what was in the WikiLeaks emails. And if you don't realize what has been going on in this country, then I'm just not sure if there's really any hope for you anymore. You're just totally brain dead, unfortunately. Megan, thank you so much for the call. So this story comes out today. You want to talk about, I don't even know what you would call this. This is beyond hypocrisy. This is like, you know what? This is just an act now. So the Golden Globes has now turned into a movie, essentially. Not that I care about the Golden Globes, but actors join actresses and pledge to wear black at Golden Globes to protest sexual harassment. So get this. You can't make this up. The #1 industry for sexual harassment is Hollywood. The #1 place where sexual harassment is being exposed is Hollywood. So who's going to stand up against sexual harassment? Hollywood? This is the most fraudulent thing I think I've ever heard of. All of these people knew about Harvey Weinstein. All of these people knew about powerful men in Hollywood using attractive women to advance or let me rephrase that. All these people knew that women would essentially use their sexual proclivities with powerful men in Hollywood in order to get roles and enhance their career. This was passé in Hollywood. This was no big deal in Hollywood. What about the pedophilia in Hollywood that they claim doesn't exist, that I guarantee you is exposed before it's all said and done? So the fact that all of these people in Hollywood are wearing black to protest sexual harassment, that's like Hitler protesting gassing Jews. This is like, I don't even know. All of these people covered up sexual harassment. All of these people were part of the culture in Hollywood of sexual assault, sexual harassment, and just sexual deviancy. And here they are trying to moral high ground America by wearing black at the Golden Globes in some fake protest of sexual harassment. This is like Michael Moore leading the Women's March while he brags about how good of a person Harvey Weinstein is. This is like Ashley Judd leading the Women's March while in my opinion, she most likely was using her own self to advance her career in Hollywood, if you know what I'm saying. The nasty woman. But now all of the people that were part of Hollywood, the despicable, corrupt, sexual, deviant-filled Hollywood, where this was just part of the culture, are now trying to moral high ground the rest of us, wear black to protest sexual harassment, while they were the very people protecting some of the worst sexual harassers that we know of in America now, like Harvey Weinstein. I can't even, the list just goes on and on and on and on. So, I don't even, I mean, this is like, I'm just so sick of these frauds, man. I'm just so sick of fake people. I'm so sick of the most morally corrupt people trying to moral high ground the rest of us. I'm not sitting here on some high horse, trust me. But I'm not going to listen to Meryl Streep. Oh my God, I can't talk about this anymore. I'm going to lose my temper. Let me just go back to the phones. Let's go to Stephen calling in from West Virginia. Go ahead, Stephen.
Good afternoon, Owen.
How you doing, Stephen?
Oh, hanging in there. I got two things. First was watching the Infowars grow and expand with David Knight with Real News, yourself on the War Room, opening eyes, not only in America, but around the world. You all's InfoWarsStore.com. I've watched this grow. It is tremendous. You can find anything there. You can find something there for your mother-in-law if you wish to do so. My second one was exposing the corrupt at the VA. The young lady that called just a few minutes ago said that she got a medical discharge from the military. And your product touches everybody like that. I'm telling you. And I'm just so glad, and I hope in 2018 you all keep up the good work and a good fight, and God bless you all. Thank you, Owen.
Well, God bless you, Stephen. Thank you so much. And you know, it really is sad, the treatment that veterans, well, they don't receive at the VA. And then you have politicians that are, I mean, this is sick. I mean, honestly, these are the points where I really start to lose my mind and people think I'm angry. But yeah, I get upset when politicians put non-citizens who came here illegally over veterans who put their lives on the line for this country. I get upset when Hollywood empowers sexual deviance and covers up for people like Harvey Weinstein and then tries to act like they have the moral high ground by wearing black at the Golden Globes to protest sexual harassment. You ignored it for decades, you frauds. Gosh. Swamp drain alert. Swamp drain alert. Huma Abedin's cousin convicted of fraud, tampered with case by what? Deleting emails. Wow. A cousin of Huma Abedin did a $500 million deal with a man known as the Russian Donald Trump, was convicted of fraud Tuesday, and the judge ordered him jailed immediately, saying he had demonstrated a disdain for the courts and legal process and was a flight risk. Oh my gosh. Did we just get a precedent set about a potential Hillary Clinton case? Folks, I'm telling you, if you have if you're legally inclined about how this stuff works, you kind of read the tea leaves here. Think about this. A, it's Huma Abedin's cousin. So you're within 1 degree of separation from Hillary Clinton's bedroom. 2, tampered with the case by deleting emails. Where do you think he got that advice? Who else is notorious for deleting emails to cover up criminal activity? Hillary Clinton. Did they just get a little birdie? Ooh. Huma Abedin's cousin convicted of fraud, tampered with case by deleting emails. And the preambles of justice begin to sing. Boy, is 2018 going to be a trip. You know what? Let's go to this clip, guys. Let's go to, this is Matt Gaetz calling it like it is, a true patriot inside of Congress, saying it's time to fire Mueller, and then putting it on the head. If he were any more biased, he'd be working for the media. Here's Matt Gaetz.
To tell lies about the president. And I guess the best evidence of collusion against Republicans is that Republicans and Russia were all on the same internet at the same time. It's ludicrous. Why are we not investigating the real crimes of the real criminals? Why aren't we investigating why the DNC's activities with the Fusion GPS company that was employing Bruce Orr's wife, Nellie Orr? That's the real collusion, and it's just outrageous to see this biased Mueller probe continue. I mean, if Bob Mueller were any more biased, we'd have to give him credentials for the mainstream media.
So are you calling for Robert Mueller to be fired when you say he's biased?
Yeah. Absolutely. I've been calling for Mueller to be fired for months now, and over 20 members of the House Judiciary Committee have been calling for a second special counsel to investigate the Clinton Foundation and Hillary Clinton, because there very well may be circumstances where the consequence of those bribes may be undermining American security moving forward. That's why we've got to get to the bottom of it, and we've got to end
I've just got 30
distraction
seconds
in the Trump presidency.
Let me unpack that, though. There have been some Republicans even saying if what happens is what you want, and the president fires Robert Mueller, we're going to have a constitutional crisis. You're okay with that?
No, the Attorney General should fire him. No, the president shouldn't have to fire him.
The Attorney General recused himself. The Attorney General recused himself. He's not involved.
Yeah, but that's the problem. We've got an Attorney General who's a spectator rather than the leader of the Department of Justice, and that undermines our democracy. There's no legal requirement for him to have recused himself in this matter. He needs to step up, be the Attorney General, fire Mueller, and appoint a second special counsel to evaluate the Clinton Foundation.
While I don't disagree with Matt Gaetz, I think, again, and I said this, I think the reason why Sessions recused himself from this Russian probe is because he saw the tea leaves going into this and realized how toxic this thing was. He didn't want anything to do with this. And if you look at everyone involved in Mueller's probe, they're all corrupt. Every single one of them is corrupt, and every single one of them can now be looked at as colluding, whether it be with Russia or with the Democrats. We've got them all caught red-handed. So for Sessions not to be part of that now actually looks a lot better to me. Now, I'm not giving Sessions a pass because he's kind of been asleep at the wheel, it seems like, so far, so we'll see what happens there. But funny thing Matt Gaetz says there, if Mueller were any more biased, he'd be working for the media. I would bet you at the end of this, Mueller works for the media, either at MSN or CNN. MSNBC or CNN would definitely hire Mueller when this thing comes to a close. Would not shock me one bit. In 2018, if we elect more people like Matt Gaetz to Congress, all the things he's calling for there will happen. So 2018 is just going to be absolutely crazy. And I'm just honored to be here in these great times, these historical times. Perhaps, I mean, you talk about world history, we're living it right now. Let's finish up this segment with a couple callers. Let's go to Ben in Nevada. Actually wants to talk Sessions. Go ahead, Ben.
Hey, Owen, how you doing, man? You're doing a great job. I appreciate all the products. And I was actually looking forward to a War Room T-shirt. Think you can maybe make that happen?
Well, let's just say there might be something for you in the near future.
All right, excellent. The biggest story to me is the lack of gonads that Jeff Sessions actually has. I don't think we could have found a bigger wet noodle at this point.
So you don't think Sessions is kind of sitting and waiting and playing possum? You think he's just genuinely just doing nothing?
Well, I can't stand Hillary Clinton walking the street for one more minute. Somebody needs to lock her up. It wasn't a request when we elected Trump. It was a demand.
No, I agree. I've said the same thing. Every day Hillary Clinton is not in jail, I lose tolerance and I lose belief and faith in justice.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I've watched it long enough. I've heard it long enough, and it wasn't a request. It was a demand by the people that elected Donald Trump.
But keep in mind, and President Trump has said this, what Hillary Clinton did is honestly unprecedented in history. the amount of criminal activity behind the Clintons is unprecedented in history, and not just in what they did, but how encompassing it is of all of these people in government and all of these people in media. So the cabal is so big and so corrupt, and it's so out of control that this is not something simple. It's not, it seems simple to us on the outside, but we don't see all the power struggles. We don't see all of the different tentacles that Hillary Clinton has as assets inside the Justice Department, et cetera, where, it's hard to get a fair case here. So not that I disagree with Ben, I completely agree. Every day Hillary Clinton's not in jail, I lose a little faith in justice, and I lose a little tolerance for Jeff Sessions. But we are dealing with a extreme case here. We are dealing with something where if you're going to arrest Hillary Clinton, you're going to have a Nuremberg trial type of scenario. That is how encompassing and the scope of the Clintons' crimes are. It's so wide-ranging. It's so massive that you're looking at a Nuremberg trial type of situation. So it's not that easy. So I'm still holding out faith that we're going to see Hillary Clinton locked up. But again, every day she walks free, I lose a little faith. I lose a little tolerance. Thank you for the call, Ben. Let's go to Willie calling in from Tennessee. Go ahead, Willie.
Hey, man. Hey, man. How are you?
Doing good.
Good, man. Yes, sir. I'd like to talk about the Las Vegas thing. But real quick, first I'd like to do a shout out to Alexa Pure Pro because it's the best water I've ever had. Shout out to Magnolia Cafe for their black bean queso dip down there in Austin. It's awesome. And shout out to Heaven's Court on the Ron Gibson channel, which is where I watch your show. Okay, so Las Vegas. Man, there was no closed circuit footage from the inside revealed. There's footage of a helicopter shooter. There is footage of a fourth floor shooter from a cab, car camera. There are things about the MGM being shootings in the lobby there. There's things about Hooters having shooters there with a bunch of ambulances, etc.
Yep. New York.
Right. Totally. Yeah. So, and in addition to that, Paddock had a room booked in Chicago for the exact same night. And with all that said, I'll leave you be. But also, one more thing. There's this cat named George Webb on YouTube. If y'all aren't hip to him, go look at his channel, George Webb, W-E-B-B. He for about the past year and a half has been daily documenting the Awan brothers. He's filed suits against the Podesta Group, the DNC. He is the rabbit hole. Go look this guy up, man. It'll take probably about 40 hours. It'll be a week's worth of work to catch up, but he is just all over the place and right on point all the way. And I thank y'all for what you're doing. Y'all have a good day. All
right, Willie, thank you so much. So for Willie, the striking story of 2017 had to be the Las Vegas massacre cover-up. Isn't that amazing? And it's almost universal. It's a non-political thing. It's universal that nobody believes the official narrative because it's so clearly BS. Like it's just so clearly BS that nobody even believes it. So yeah, that's quite striking for 2017. All right, John Rappaport is set to take over. I'm going to clear out some of your calls here before he takes helm of the ship. Let's go to Josh calling in from Oregon. Go ahead, Josh.
Hello?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're on air.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
Oh, cool. So the biggest story for me for 2017 is definitely these tax cuts. I think these are going to be really big moving on into the future. And it's funny because Obama, with Obamacare, he lied to families saying that it was going to save them money, and the media loved it. Trump tells the truth, passes tax cuts, it's going to save families money, and the media thinks it's horrible.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? You can keep your plan, you can keep your doctor, and outright lie. No media calls that out, except, I guess conservative media. And then, Trump says, I'm going to cut your taxes, cuts the taxes, and it's an outrage.
Oh, absolutely. And now it's wonderful because thanks to capitalism, you've got Wells Fargo and Fifth Third Bancorp saying that they're going to raise their minimum wage to $15. So it looks like we're winning the fight for 15.
Yeah, and not just that. Oh, yeah, and that's without law, by the way. That's without law. We did it just by helping the economy. And that's not the other thing. You had companies announce giving out bonuses. Other companies announced raises. Other companies announced massive donations to charity. I mean, but, Trump is so bad with these tax cuts. I mean, these tax cuts are making Russia rich. What are we going to do? Russia is getting such a tax cut because of President Trump. Oh, no, wait, that's Americans getting a tax cut because of President Trump. And thank you so much for the call, Josh. I saw this tweet from someone that summed it up perfectly. It was like Bill Clinton said, I promise. George Bush said, I promise. Barack Obama said, I promise. Donald Trump said, I did it. And that's the fact. Let's go to William calling in from Georgia. Go ahead, William.
How you doing, Owen?
It's going good.
I like to call this the Jones effect. Over time, I saw Alex Jones say something, then in 2 years it came to pass. Then he said something in 1 year it came to pass. Then
that's right. Infowars.com, tomorrow's news today. Infowars.com, next week's news today. Infowars.com, next month's news today. Infowars.com, next year's news today. Infowars.com, next decade's news today. Infowars.com, next century's news today.
All right. And the second thing, this is for you. I call it swamp chart. And what you need to do is have pictures of those who have resigned or been fired, like senators, CEOs, and news reporters, and also the pictures of those who need to be kicked out of office at midterm, and put their picture up on the website, put all the pictures, line them up together, and put their alter ego up beside them, like water moccasins, serpents, rats, and swamp things.
Yeah, I like that.
And so every time a swamp creature is kicked out of office, the swamp level goes down. So
this is good. We've got a great team of writers, and we have a great audience out there that will probably take up on that. So yeah, that's great. A list or an image or something showing all the swamp creatures. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Jeff Flake, and all of these people. That's a good idea, because some people are really good at. Sometimes visual learning is better for some people, and images stick in people's minds more than having to read something or listen to something. So that's a great idea, especially when we come up to the midterms election. Thank you so much for the call, William. All right, Andy in Texas, you got 60 seconds. Squeeze it in.
Oh, hey, so I think the biggest story of the year is the non-conviction of Hillary Clinton. The simple fact that we've got more evidence on her than anything leading up to any kind of collusion with the Russians, with Donald Trump. We've got much more collusion with her, and she's just sitting on the sidelines watching and applauding and whatnot. I think that's the biggest story of the year, is that this woman is still walking free.
Yeah, so it's like the biggest story of the year as far as news coverage is the Trump-Russia collusion, which is a non-story, a made-up story, fake news. Meanwhile, the real collusion with Hillary Clinton, the FBI, Obama's Department of Justice, and even the Russians via Uranium One is not talked about. So, yeah, that is an amazing polarization of a Russian collusion where there is no Russian collusion with Donald Trump. That's the biggest news story. Then where there is Russian collusion with Hillary Clinton and Uranium One, that somehow doesn't exist. That is incredible. John Rappaport takes over. I sign off telling you to stay classy, Info Warriors.
John Rappaport here, sitting in for Alex in the fourth hour on Infowars. Yeah, big stories in 2017. So let me begin with one of the stranger stories which just broke. UFO disclosure. Right. I'm sure many of you have been getting at least a piece of this story. And it kind of starts with Tom DeLonge, a famous musician, Blink 182. And all of a sudden, he has announced that he has a new venture called To the Stars Academy. Not exactly sure what that's going to be, but it has something to do with UFO information, disclosure, research, entertainment, perhaps merchandising, and so on and so forth. So you would think, okay, great, well, whatever. But no, because one of his lead collaborators, not just a momentary acquaintance, but one of his lead collaborators is a guy named Luis Elizondo, who was the Pentagon chief of a secret program, now admitted in the press all over the world, from 2007 to 2012, and it's actually still going on, Elizondo is not there anymore, to study and explore UFO activity. And Elizondo is now actually the point man for the media, starting with the New York Times. So for decades, independent UFO researchers, investigators, people with stories, whatever, and whatever you think of all of that, have been trying to get major media coverage. Please, Pentagon says we know nothing, CIA says we have nothing, and then all of a sudden, through to the Stars Academy, Luis Elizondo has a direct pipeline into the New York Times and therefore every major press outlet in the world to talk about this Pentagon program that nobody heard of before to study and explore UFO activity. And Elizondo is also bringing with him the video, which you've probably seen by now, 2004 off San Diego, fighter jets, a hovering, twisting, tic-tac, something or other, UFO, unidentified flying object in the sky, which then apparently whisks off at very high speed. And then also a statement from Elizondo that the Pentagon has, or actually a contractor has in Las Vegas named Bob Bigelow, material from UFOs which is being analyzed, but the sense is nobody can figure out what these metals are made of.
Commander David Frabor's colleagues made fun of him after learning he
overnight. Gigantic. So what I decided to do was just to go to the Stars Academy website and see what's cooking there, because Tom DeLonge has a team around him of people. Again, not just occasional drop-in guests, but this is the team. The team. Now, just check this out. Screw your brain in real tight. Jim Semovan. And I'm looking at my text here so I get this right. These are all from quotes, by the way. Retired from the Central Intelligence Agency's Directorate of Operations after 25 years as an operations officer overseas and domestically. Hal Puthoff, a physicist, has done research at the National Security Agency, NSA, among other places, regularly advises the Department of Defense and intelligence communities. And Luis Elizondo, the guy I just mentioned, now listen to this, because I'm going to read you, this is a very interesting quote. A career intelligence officer whose experience includes working with the U.S. Army, the Department of Defense, the National Counterintelligence Executive, and the Director of National Intelligence. As a former special agent in charge, Luis conducted and supervised highly sensitive espionage and terrorism investigations around the world. As an intelligence case officer, he ran clandestine source operations throughout Latin America and the Middle East, end quote. Oh, yeah. Chris Mellon served 20 years in the federal government, including as the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence in the Clinton and Bush administrations. Paul Rapp. Past honors include a certificate of commendation from the CIA for significant contributions to the mission of the Office of Research and Development. Now, as an aside, I can tell you that that office, the ORD, was precisely where the CIA's MKUltra mind control program secretly was shifted in 1962 after it supposedly ended. Very good source on that. Another guy on Tom DeLonge's team, Norm Kahn, 30-year career with the CIA. Getting the picture here? Now, we're supposed to believe that whatever you think about UFOs and they're real, they're not, they're aliens, it's an operation, the black budget, it's intelligence community disinformation, whatever. Here is suddenly an organization that has a direct pipeline to the New York Times and every press outlet in the world with a story about UFO revelations. This has never happened before. The New York Times is reporting all this straight ahead. Here it is. And it's to the Stars Academy. Now, I'll take you one layer deeper on this because this is very interesting. On a few of these big names that I just went over and a few others who are on the team at To the Stars Academy, Dr. Norm Kahn, well, he also had a career with the CIA that culminated, I'm quoting now, in his development and direction of the intelligence community's counter-biological weapons program. Dr. Rapp, who I mentioned, professor of military and emergency medicine. Now, another advisor to the Academy to the Stars, Dr. Gary Nolan, professor in the Department of Microbiology and Immunology at Stanford. Holds a BS in genetics, PhD in genetics. And Luis Elizondo, the CIA guy that I just mentioned, the man who has the direct pipeline to the New York Times, quote, his academic background includes microbiology, immunology, and parasitology, with research experience in tropical diseases. So I ask you, aside from all the CIA spooks and military intelligence and Pentagon people on this team, why are there medical players, significant medical players? And I will give you my take on this, because we could be seeing an op, a covert psyop, to say viruses are coming in from space. They've always come in from space, and now we have to pay attention to them, particularly with some revelations that we may not be alone in the universe, and who knows what our enemies out there could be sending to us, etc., etc. Vaccines, we need all kinds of vaccines against who knows what. There's money here, medical contracts, getting the picture. I will continue this very weird and interesting story after the break. John Rappaport back here in the fourth hour. Before I continue this very strange and interesting UFO story, just want to tell you about the New Year's extended specials at Infowars with free shipping. It's quite fantastic. Myco ZX back in stock. 25 off with free shipping, 25% off. Super Male Vitality, 50% off with free shipping. Silver Bullet, 67% off with free shipping. Infowarsstore.com. Brainforce Plus, 50% off, free shipping. Infowarsstore.com. Alpha Power, 50% off with free shipping. Cellforce, 50 off with free shipping. These and other deals give you what you're looking for in the way of products and support the Infowar, because you're just not going to get these stories, of course, on mainstream news. And one of the reasons that Infowars is being attacked so hard, especially in 2017, it really accelerated, was because it's a place to get news that the mainstream refuses to report. You know, a big story comes out and it contradicts the agenda of mainstream news. Oh, we can't have that, you see, and we don't want anybody else to report on it at all. But all of a sudden, bang, there it is at the top of the Infowars homepage. And millions of people are seeing it, reading it, hearing about it. Wow, sharing it. It's going all over the planet. The very story, whatever it is at the moment, that mainstream doesn't want you to know because it crisscrosses and contradicts their agenda. They want to own the territory, and they realize that they don't own it anymore. That's part of the Infowar, and you support that. Okay, so back to this fascinating UFO story. As I said before the break, all these medical players are on board of To the Stars Academy, which nobody ever heard of before until a couple of months ago. And they are spearheading the UFO revelations. Wow. But these medical players could very easily mount a psyop which says, you know, for decades now, we've been concerned about viruses coming in from deep space because we don't know what they are and we have no natural immunity to them, and we must develop vaccines against them, and there's a lot of money to be had from government contracts, so on and so forth and so on. And this is a reason to be afraid, very afraid, and they could step by step pump this up because in my article, as you can see, it's very clear that when astronauts come back from space, as in the Apollo missions, they're put through 3 stages of quarantine. So this fear of germs from outer space is nothing new. It's been part of the NASA program all along. And now we have this little organization of Tom DeLonge's with medical, CIA, Pentagon players on board, serious players, who can very easily, with access suddenly out of nowhere to the biggest press outlets in the world, mainstream outlets, promote any story relating to space and UFOs they want to. Carte blanche. Well, you know, we should be very concerned about viruses from outer space. Really? Viruses? Oh, yes. For decades, I could show you academics and so forth and professors and pharmaceutical companies and the FDA and whoever, we want to bring into this. Has been very concerned about these things. And we need to develop defenses against this. Really? Yes, defenses and vaccines, more vaccines, of course. Yes, absolutely. So you may have heard that there are rumblings in Congress now about resurrecting the old Reagan Star Wars plan in space, which is to be able to intercept missiles. Well, suppose these guys decide to promote, we need virus detectors in outer space. You see, a ring of virus detectors and so forth. And we have to beware of all of this. Well, this provides a tremendous cover story for ongoing deep state U.S. offensive research in bioweapons can be hidden under all of this very, very easily. That's another advantage of this whole program. So for those of you who are tangentially interested in UFO stories or very interested in whatever, take all of this into account that I'm telling you here, because this little team of players out of nowhere has tremendous clout, and they can promote to the world through the mainstream, apparently now, any old story they want to. They can give you alien scenarios. They can give you psyop threats of all kinds from outer space. They can spin enemy after enemy because, after all, what does the CIA and the Pentagon do on a regular basis? They invent enemies everywhere. So why not go to outer space? Okay. Story number 2 today. This is hot off the wire, and haven't written this up yet, but a medical story, a story about the FDA, a story about crimes, a story about murder, a story about decades of medical murder. And why is this important aside from what I've just said? I want to set a larger context, which I have before and I will do again. The medical cartel is, in the long term, the most important branch or arm of globalism on the planet, because by toxic treatment throughout a person's lifetime with toxic drugs and vaccines, that person can be debilitated, confused, killed, made weak, incapable of rational thought, or resistance to a takeover. After all, if you are one of the arch globalists on the planet and you intend to install a management system for the entire world and erase national borders and have one nation under globalism, and you're dealing with 8 billion people, you are in fact thinking of ways that you can implement strategies to debilitate, destroy, confuse, weaken the entire global population, because that's what makes it possible to take them over. Get it? I will have the details on this story after we return from the break. John Rappaport back in the fourth hour here. Just want to continue what Alex was talking about on the break, because here are more products with tremendous discounts and free shipping from InfoWarsStore.com. Alpha Power, 50 off with free shipping. Cellforce, 50% off, free shipping. Survival Shield X2, 50 off with free shipping. Vitamin Mineral Fusion, 50 off with free shipping. The Real Red Pill, 50% off with free shipping. All Super Blue products, 50 off with free shipping. InfoWarsStore.com. Right now, while supplies last. InfoWarsStore.com. Okay, medical cartel, globalism, kissing cousins, brother, sister, whatever, they are the main long-term thrust of globalism, because they debilitate, confuse, weaken, destroy populations, make them easier to take over. It's part of the war. You've got to see that to understand it. And I've given you many details on that before. So I want to give you another one today. And again, as with many of these stories, it's right out there in the open. You don't have to, we have to go down the rabbit hole 15,000 feet with drills and, so forth, and lights on our heads in the caves. And it's right out in the open. A company, giant pharma company in Europe called Fresenius, which is one of the biggest healthcare providers in Europe and has a couple of dozen manufacturing facilities around the world. They make components for chemotherapy drugs for cancer, okay? So we start off with poison drugs. Now what's happened is the FDA in the United States has discovered that at their plant in India, the employees, which they do these regular tests and checks on the assembly line to make sure that these components are coming out exactly as they should. And they discovered at least a couple hundred times, looks like 256 altogether, that the drugs were not coming out of the assembly line the way they were supposed to come out. They contained contaminants. You don't want drugs with contaminants, especially if the drugs are poison to begin with. Now you're talking about poison on top of poison. That's what the FDA discovered. And these components go into chemotherapy drugs, which are sold all over the world and in the U.S. So what did the FDA do? And this is the second time this has happened, by the way. FDA discovered very similar thing a couple of years ago, and now, here we go again. They issue a warning letter. And the warning letter is, look, boys, you're going to have to fix this. You're going to have to re-examine your entire operation and come on, do better. Promise you will. Please. Otherwise, we're really going to have to get nasty with you. And we suggest, and this is part of the news story, we suggest you bring in an outside consultant to handle all of this. Meanwhile, we at the FDA have to get back to what we're doing before, which is trying to limit people's access to those really poisonous compounds called nutritional supplements. Oh, my God. Yeah. This is right out in the open. Nobody gets arrested. Nobody gets prosecuted for fraud, reckless endangerment. Nothing. No fines have been issued. And on top of that, the company is not told that they must stop the manufacturing process. No. In fact, the FDA, in its warning, the warning, it looks, something like, or sounds like that, slap. This is the big warning, right? In their big warning, the FDA said, now, if you don't behave and straighten up and fly right, we're not going to let you continue to export your drugs into the U.S. Meaning, for now, no problem. Continue to export these contaminated, on top of poison drugs into the U.S. to destroy lives, debilitate populations, and so on. So, I mean, whatever. We're not really that concerned at all. Not that much. This is all out in the open. All out in the open because the FDA and many other public health agencies, as they're called around the world, collude, conspire, get married to, and stay married to for life Big Pharma and the pharmaceutical companies. This is part of the medical cartel. You figure in medical schools and doctor training, you figure in virus hunters at the Centers for Disease Control, that every time there's an environmental poisoning of the environment, the real stuff, they say, oh, it's a virus. And they provide cover for polluting corporations. All of these and more are part of the ongoing Rockefeller medical cartel, which is the long-term arm of globalism. Now, again, I'm going to bring up the study, the key study that started the ball rolling 17 years ago, for those of you who have not heard about it before. And you can use this when some science blogger who lives in mommy's basement tells you that all conventional medical studies are real and true and has pray to them, and they reveal that medical care is just pure and wonderful up and down the line, right? So the study is, write it down, July 26, 2000, Journal of the American Medical Association, totally mainstream. Dr. Barbara Starfield, totally mainstream at the time, a revered public health expert of many years at the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, and her review was called, "Is U.S. health really the best in the world?" And she concluded conservatively, as she told me in a later interview, quite conservatively, that every year in the U.S., correctly prescribed, FDA-approved as safe and effective medical drugs kill 106,000 people, and of course maim many millions. 106,000 killed every year, which adds up to 1 million deaths per decade. Boom, 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 boom. And I said to her, so has any agency of the federal government, for example, the FDA, ever approached you since you published this review, asking you to consult on remedying this horrendous Holocaust? No, she said, absolutely not. Has any government agency of the U.S. undertaken a major program to remedy this incredible tragedy? No, she said, no. That just gives you the beginning of an idea of the level of destruction we're talking about. You pick your favorite story where human life is threatened and disposed of, shall we say. Whatever that is for you. If I could show you that a mainstream publication has said that your story causes 1 million deaths per decade and it's documented, wouldn't you be interested? Well, that's the story here, folks. We'll be back after the break. Okay, last segment here. Right out in the open. 1 million deaths per decade in the U.S. caused by FDA-approved, government-approved medicines, properly prescribed. FDA says safe, effective. I gave you the citation. Journal of the American Medical Association, July 26, 2000. Is U.S. health really the best in the world? By Dr. Barbara Starfield. So as I was saying before we went to the break, whatever your key story might be, you know, where you say, now this is causing a lot of death and destruction. If I could show you in a mainstream publication, out in the open, again, distinguished credentials up and down the line, 1 million deaths from what you're researching per decade, like clockwork, wouldn't you be interested? I think everybody would be interested. Well, here's that story. It's called the U.S. medical system, or a branch of the global medical cartel. That's what it's called. So, as we move out of 2017, and Happy New Year, by the way, to everybody. Merry Christmas, if I haven't already said that to people. It's going to be a fantastic year in 2018. It's going to be a fantastic year in many ways, and one of those ways is that more and more people are going to be waking up to fundamental ideas about the individual, the freedom of the individual, the rights of the individual, which are inherent in the individual, but happen to be, fortunately, spelled out in founding documents of the Republic, such as the right to property, the right to the fruits of one's own labor, the right to make decisions concerning one's own self, family, and physical body, such as health. This is going to rise to a crescendo. It has to rise to a crescendo because we are seeing agents of globalism trying to force toxic pharmaceuticals and vaccines down the throats of everybody on Earth, basically. And if they can get away with it, mandating it as part of the law, such as in the breakaway socialist country of California, where they have indeed passed a law, and they indeed have a governor who is out of his ever-loving mind and has been for a long time. The right of you to decide for yourself and your children what health means, how to make it happen, what to do, what not to do. And we are again seeing more cases of children snatched away from their families because some agency of government, which is dedicated to the principle of globalism and top-down control, whether these apparatchiks even know it or not, that's what they're doing from child services. Knock, knock, knock on the door. You're not giving your child the right meds. You must for cancer treatment, or we will take the child away from you. 2018 has to be the year of reasserting the right of every individual to determine his or her own health destiny. It's part of your chosen destiny. That's what this is all about. That's what gives you the vision of the future that you want based on your own freedom. That's what people are waking up to. That the handout of the gentle Oh, we love you and we want to give you everything, and that's what the world is all about, and we're all one giant cheese glob, a collective in the sky, and it's all going to be good because there'll be freebies for everybody, and it's utopia and paradise, and isn't this what we want? And don't we want to destroy and kill the people who refuse to see it as we do? Oh, yeah, I'm sure, right. And behind that cartoon garbage front is we decide, you obey, we make the rules, you play our game. And part of that, a central part, is we decide what you and your children must have to be protected health-wise, what treatment. If there's viruses coming in from outer space, we will tell you, and we will tell you what you must do about it and what we all must do about it. This concoction, this fake, bottom line piece of fake news has been perpetrated by major media as long as I've been aware of major media, which is a long time. And why I called my site No More Fake News in 2001, because the Infowar was already on, and it still is, and it will be. And please get this as we head into the new year. An essential aspect of all of this is reasserting the individual power and right, which is a natural right, reflected in law and in the founding documents, but existed, at a much deeper level than any law that people make. That you are free to address, take care of, manage, expand, improve your health in any way that you want to. The government is not mentioned in the Constitution as the arbiter of all things medical. But you see, here's how they slide in. They simply say, well, we must protect you. We have that right. We have that duty as the government. We care, of course. And therefore, if we see that you're doing something that is sabotaging yourself or self-destructive, or you're refraining from doing something that you really need to be doing for the sake of your own well-being and your health, we, the government, must intercede. The supremacy clause in the Constitution, whatever else they want to invoke. That's how the court system has been operating as well, where judges say, we don't want to hear anything about informed consent from parents about vaccines, or the fact that if we don't let a child go to school because he's not vaccinated, that we're denying him an equal education. That's all baloney. What overrides all of that is protection of the community. That's what the government is up to. That's the prime directive, you see. Well, who decided that? They did. Based on what? Based on their version of science. And where is that coming from? From the globalist medical cartel, from the Rockefeller cartel, which has stacked the universities and the hospitals and the doctor's offices and everything medical with dupes, unwitting pawns, agents, assets of this medical cartel to insist that the government has the final say on what you will and won't do in order to enhance and maintain your own health and well-being. That's the biggest bunch of crap in the universe. That's my UFO story for today. In all of the universe, I know somehow that this story, that idea, is the biggest bunch of crap in the universe, because it's individual freedom, it's individual choice, it's individual mind and decision about your own body, self, health, well-being, all of that together, consciousness. Who else is going to make those decisions by right? You're going to make those decisions. If you are free and independent, you want to make those decisions. Happy New Year, everybody. It's going to be quite a year. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. John Rappaport signing off for Infowars.